We're live, NRD. Finally. A lot going on in the last, 20 or so minutes, but we're live. Cold Stove Trade Melt, how are you doing?
I am doing well. Sorry, I was a little doubled up on the audio there, making sure the YouTube link looked pretty for you guys. But excited to get this going. We took a little bit to get the window dressing to look nice, right? NRD is protected in the corner there on the bottom of the screen. But it's a fun day. A lot of the big moves happened already, but we're gonna have some shit to talk about here, so I'm excited.
Well, caffeine for the boys. I got home at midnight last night, NRD, and that's before I had to drive home. So I'm excited for today. Cold Stove Podcast. We're doing trade deadline live. Busy morning. Busy morning. What surprised you so far, or what favorite trade so far? I mean, I'll run through them all, but
Yeah,
my
no, we
goodness.
we can go through them all. By the way, Mr. Mike 95 in the YouTube comments. We'll get that NRD reveal in the offseason when we do free agency live. I promise. That's a promise on air right now. We'll do it then. We're not going to do it now. We're going to do it then. But the trade that surprised me this morning and the one that, came about in the last couple of days, Elliot had it, what was it? What's today? Monday, maybe Saturday night, is Marc-Andre Fleury to the Minnesota Wild, right? Because
Yeah.
Bill Guerin was one of those guys who came out and said, we're not going to, trade for the sake of making a trade and work our way out of this. But when a great goaltender of his caliber falls into their lap, you have to make that move. And it was there were a lot of talks about whether a first round pick would go back the other way to Chicago. It didn't, by way of it was a second with a conditional first if the Minnesota Wild go to the conference finals and Fleury wins 4 games in the playoffs at least. So best of both worlds for both sides. And that trade, surprised me because if he didn't want to ruin the chemistry up front or on the blue line, what he did was he, added at a position of, I didn't think weakness in Minnesota, but just got better in net. And that's what you need to compete against Calgary or, Colorado in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things. Toronto, we thought kind of was the favorite there for a minute, and then Chaudron's been playing well. Wall gets hurt, so you kind of never know with Toronto. Um, but Fleury is a Minnesota Wild, and they are going to need obviously a lot of cap help in the offseason. They're going to need a lot of help to get them into the playoffs. Somebody mentioned today on Twitter, they're like, I still don't know why Suter and Parise are bought out here, because if you're going for it, then it's one of those things. Who knows? Who knows, NRD? The other big trade that has happened this morning, or I guess last night, but Claude Giroux is a Florida Panther, NRD.
He is. It's one of those moves that we've seen coming for quite some time. We spoke about it ad nauseum on our pod, on Twitter. I'm not, and I wanted to address this. I didn't get a chance. I held a Twitter space last night, but I didn't get a chance to address it then because it took some of your guys' questions. I'm not buying the reports out there that Chuck Fletcher didn't talk to any other team, right? Like we know that came from somebody with an agenda, probably Chuck Fletcher himself. Danny Barrera was out in Colorado scouting both the Avalanche and the Eagles on a long scouting trip, looking at what they had in the prospect pool. We knew that Claude Giroux was okay with Colorado. Florida was just a little bit more appealing. He was on the East Coast. It was closer to home, and he feels like he can compete with that team. So not buying that, and it's not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm sure it was something that he was legitimately told, but I'm not subscribing to that theory. There were a lot of things going on. He did say no to Boston and New York. That's a true Philadelphia Flyer if I've ever seen one. And Claude Giroux is a Florida Panther now. Owen Tippett, we knew that name was involved. I think things changed. There was rumors that the deal was going to go down right after his 1,000th game in Philly. I think that changed that night. There's possibility of Mackie Samoskevich in the deal. Many people reported that. And then things shifted to maybe Florida having a little bit more power than they thought they had, the ball being in their court, knowing at that point that Florida was the much more appealing option for Claude Giroux. Maybe they stuck to their guns and said, hey, we'll give you the 24 first. We'll give you the third. And Owen Tippett's the only player you're getting back.
Yeah, and I think somebody just mentioned in the comments, shouts to Tristan, he said, yeah, when you're basically told you get one team to go to, that's sort of, your negotiating power sort of falls apart at that point. Now, could they have gotten more? I don't know. It's Giroux. You got to think that Florida's going to maybe try to extend him. Obviously, Philly's back in the mix in the summer, so we'll see where that goes. But I think, if you're a betting man, Florida is very much the betting favorite for the Stanley Cup at this point. This morning, let's get into some of the stuff that went down. Brian Little to the Coyotes. Obviously, he's not playing, but that's sort of a cap dump situation. Winnipeg gets a 2022 fourth for that. Marcus Johansson to the Capitals for Daniel Sprong, a 2022 fourth and a 2023 sixth. Jack Mcbain to the Coyotes. That's Jeff Merrick was all over that. That the Wild get a 2022 second, one of Arizona's 95 draft picks, it feels like. What do you think of the Jack McBain news to Arizona?
It's excellent asset management because they have so many second-round picks now from what they've accumulated for brokering deals over the past, year or so. So to use that to bring in a guy who, he's a UFA at the end of this year as an undrafted free agent or an unsigned drafted free agent, but there's no guarantee he stays or at least wants to sign in Arizona. Let me put it that way. There's no guarantee he wants to sign in Arizona on an open market. So Arizona gets the benefit, and Bill Armstrong in that front office have the benefit of the next, 4 or 5 months to talk to this kid ahead of free agency in July. And that's asset management 101. You have a collection of second-round picks. You're going to continue to accumulate picks with all that cap space you have. You're going to broker more deals, right? That's not including, if Chikrin goes somewhere else today or at the draft. That's not including if Lawson Krause or any of these other guys go somewhere today or at the draft. So you're going to accumulate more picks. You use the ones you have to bring in talent. Nathan Smith, another kid, played at the Olympics, I believe, does nothing but score goals this year in the NCAA. So shouts to him. Wasn't signing in Winnipeg. So he's, along with Brian Little's contract in Arizona now. And Arizona's got two guys that, no, they're not 1A prospects, but you need to build out a roster. Organizational depth is key to trying to rebuild a team. And you got two guys there that hopefully are contributors in that middle six going forward.
Speaking of middle six forwards, Connor Garland to the Pens has been thrown around this morning. Any smoke on Connor Garland or any Vancouver guys for that matter?
Yeah, it's the same in Vancouver that we've been hearing for a while, right? JT Miller's the prized, catch that probably won't end up going anywhere. It's always been 50-50, and I think that number keeps dipping as the day goes on. Not to say that, the Boston Bruins or any other team don't come along and realize that you had a package built out for Claude Giroux. Now you could just shift and see if that appeals to, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin. That being said, though, Connor Garland's the guy. I tweeted out this morning. I think there's some smoke there with the Boston Bruins. I know Steve Dangle mentioned it. Shouts to him. He does some funny stuff on Twitter and whatnot. I do think there's legitimate smoke to some degree, and that's no secret there. Massachusetts kid. He's a Don Sweeney wet dream. I think he's the fit that makes a lot of sense for Boston. The Jake DeBrusk extension at $2 million clues me into maybe if that's where they're looking to go, only because it's a lot closer on money in, money out for both teams. Garland's making 4.95, I believe, over the next four or 5 seasons at 4.95. DeBrusk is now at $4 million. It's a lot closer. It's affordable for both teams, clearly. So that's where I'm looking at maybe Don Sweeney working the phones. Maybe a Max Domi as well, to kind of segue into Boston really quick, maybe Max Domi as well. And then, like I said, if Don Sweeney wants to pick up the phone here before 3 p.m. and see what Vancouver's up with JT Miller in addition to Garland, maybe you have something there. But Garland, the big name, Besser, Miller, kind of going by the wayside now.
Yeah, and in terms of names that we're looking for today, a lot of things have already happened. It's kind of like the Ricard Raquel. Like, who is the big fish today? Is it Chikrin? I think it was Frank or Chris Johnston mentioned that if Chikrin doesn't get traded today, I don't think the Coyotes have a problem with that,
No, and why would you? We talk about, the Arizona Coyotes continuing to rebuild this team. You need good players there, right? Like, you can't just have a skeleton squad of 23 guys on the ice. He's a great young defenseman. He's not making over $6 million. He's under contract for multiple years. You keep guys like that, unless, of course, you get a haul for them. Right. And, Dreger mentioned on the TSN show this morning that price has probably jumped up even further after seeing the returns on Hampus Lindholm and Ben Sherratt. So does a team like, the LA Kings and the New York Rangers get desperate? Perhaps. But if you're Arizona, I think you're completely content to setting such an unattainable asking price and almost forcing this decision to get kicked down the line to the draft right now.
Yeah.
Make the price so ridiculous that if somebody wants to step up and do it, by all means, give us, 7 assets for Jacob Churkin. Otherwise, we'll make this decision at the draft when we'll really talk.
No doubt. And another, a guy that's probably the opposite of that in Arizona is a Phil Kessel. I think we're going to see Phil Kessel pack his bags today. No,
I wouldn't doubt it. He's a guy that makes sense for the New York Rangers, who have $32 million in deadline cap space and are just looking to fill out, a bottom 6.
Yep.
I look at him, as a fit there. I don't think, I don't know if there's any traction yet, but he's the type of fit that the New York Rangers would continue to add to that bottom 6 and just build the scoring depth.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of go to some of the comments here. I mean, do you see Toronto targeting a top 6 forward? No. Welfare check on Drury. Is he awake today yet in NRD?
It's hard to tell because his PR arm, Larry Brooks, said that Drury's got to be careful about what he does to mesh with the locker room at the deadline this year. But I think Drury's awake. I just have a sneaky suspicion that he's working on things that we don't know about. And I'm not just saying that to garner hype for the show. Elliot mentioned the Patrick Kane stuff and, with Chicago heading into a rebuild. There's multiple guys in Chicago. Alex DeBrincat is a name that comes to mind of just guys that maybe Chris Drury is just asking about anybody and everybody. He's got the ability to do it at least for this season under the cap. If the Rangers continue to play like they are right now, beating Tampa the other night, beating Carolina last night, then let's just get good players here and we'll kick that can down the road to the offseason and figure out how the money works.
Frank Saravalli tweeting NRD that Oilers are acquiring Brett Kulak from Les Habitants. Kind of a middle 6 forward, bottom 6 forward. Anything there for you that intrigues you?
Nothing intriguing. We know that, this is going to be a quiet deadline for the Edmonton Oilers. They struck out on their pursuit of a number 1 goaltender because nobody wanted to go there. So if this is what they want to do now is just build out depth, not surprising. They're building out, listen, for all the shit that we've given Ken Holland and the Edmonton Oilers over the past couple of months, and for all the shit we talk about, Evander Kane not being, the model citizen of the year, he's done a nice job of building, that middle 6 of their forwards between Evander Kane being there, now Brett Kulak. Slowly but surely, the Edmonton Oilers are getting back into, being decent.
Yeah, Kulak's a defenseman. I'm sorry, I am absolutely. I'm riding the little bit of post-wedding hangover. I'm just going to be honest with you guys.
There you go, Brett. I'm taking your word for it.
My gosh.
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at the comments. I'm just listening to what you tell me.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm thinking when I think Habs forward, I think Arturi Lehkonen. That's what I wanted to mention is whoever gets Arturi Lehkonen is winning the Stanley Cup. So when that happens today, if that happens today, I'm very excited for that trade. I don't think the Sabres are going to be involved in that one. But a guy that I am intrigued by, basically the biggest Sabres deal today is going to be either Colin Miller or Craig Anderson. The latest on Craig Anderson from a source that I have, that's my one team NRD. I got some plugins there, is that they like him too much to let him go for just kind of a deadline rental price because he is such a key locker room guy and has turned into sort of a culture builder along with a Mark Pysyk, who might go today. I hope they bring him back, along with an Alex Tuck. So if Craig Anderson doesn't move today, do not be surprised. Unless they get somebody, you can say this for every player in the league. Unless they get something that blows them away, Craig Anderson will remain a Sabre. So,
and that's an interesting name because we know Martin Jones is probably off the market now too in Philly. So that goaltending market that was wide open just weeks ago is now starting to bottleneck up in very short order here between, the big name Marc-Andre Fleury obviously going to Minnesota. He's off the market. Karel Vejmelka extended with the Coyotes last night, 2 years. So
who is the number 1 goalie on the market right now? It kind of dried up quickly, Is it a guy like James Reimer in San Jose?
Well, he's expendable now with the Capo Kakinen trade. So you would think that James Reimer is you would think Reimer's expendable. You'd think that Alexander Georgiev had a great game last night for the New York Rangers. And the one thing that he said all along, similar to Rasmus Ristolainen telling teams that, hey, I'm a playoff player, let me get hot in a 7-game series, Alexander Georgiev has told teams, or at least told the New York Rangers, I can be better when I have a consistent starting schedule. This one game every 15 is not working out for me. He's gotten a couple starts here in the past couple of weeks, and he played really well last night. So is he even on the market at this point? Not if the Rangers can't get a stable veteran backup. Why would you move him?
You don't trade if you have a pretty good tandem like they do. Obviously, you don't trade a guy just to make a trade.
Exactly. There's no stake in making a move, especially for a team that is going to make a run here. They just had 2 monster wins, and they need as much as they can get in order to go to the Stanley Cup final.
Guys saying that obviously Max Domi was, not a healthy scratch, but he missed the morning skate this morning for maintenance. That seems to be a little bit of GM speak per se. I think the expectation is Domi is gone. Boston, I know, is involved. I know New York is going to make a phone call there. Anywhere that you like that makes sense for Domi that's maybe off the radar, like at Carolina?
He makes a lot of sense for a Colorado Avalanche team that hasn't grabbed a center.
Sure.
You talk about their options up the middle, and a guy who could play the pivot, Paul Stastny. Is there a reunion there? Or is it Max Domi?
I've wanted that since day one.
Especially it's a big one for you.
Yeah, put Stastny back to Colorado for a playoff run. Colorado, Florida, Stanley Cup final. Give, as the kids say, inject that into my veins, NRD.
I'm wholeheartedly supporting that. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets are doing stuff, right? They acquired Mason Appleton.
Yeah, who I really like Mason Appleton as a player, probably 2 years ago more than now, but that's not a huge payment from a guy that it is going to give you hard minutes,
No, absolutely. And I'll break the fourth wall here last night because it was a hot topic debate on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this while you were chilling out in Naples, Brett. But
no, NRD, I was trying to keep up, and
no, it's fine. Listen,
the Mai Tais, and I literally rented a jet ski yesterday. The Mai Tais were flowing a little too heavy last night to be super involved.
Brett was in one in Naples, but
I've been in one for 48 hours. I want to be frank with everybody here. But I'm here now, NRD. That's all that matters.
Listen, the best ability is availability, and you're here today, so that's a good thing.
Merritt reporting, by the way, that Justin Braun to the New York Rangers.
So there you go. There's Chris Drury's alive, and they're also in on Rickard Rakell as well. So there's moves to be made with the New York Rangers right now.
Let's see. Just wanted to recap. If you're new here to the stream, Brian Little's cap hit is going to the Coyotes. Capitals get Marcus Johansson for Daniel Sprong, a 2022 4th, 2023 6th. Jack McBain's rights to the Arizona Coyotes for a 2022 2nd. Former Buffalo Sabre Nathan Beaulieu to Pittsburgh. Winnipeg gets a 2022 conditional 7th. Mason Appleton to the Jets for a 2023 4th reunion there. So I think a couple setup moves happening this morning outside of the bigger ones. Somebody said, somebody mentioned Jesper Bratt. I think Bratt tends to be in play. It's going to be a return for him because he's a bright young player, but I don't think the New Jersey, I don't think they're satisfied with what this rebuild has yielded thus far. They're supposed to be better this year. On paper, they were kind of hoping for a Kings-like jump, but we'll see where that goes. NRD, who are you looking at right now?
I'm still interested in what we're hearing about Rickard Rakell and the New York Rangers. I don't think that's done yet. I just think they're in on him.
Okay. Somebody's saying Andrew Kopp, the leader in the clubhouse for an Andrew Kopp, maybe the Carolina Hurricanes. Hockey 24/7. We shall see there. NRD, a team that we don't mention a whole lot, but is obviously very involved on days like today, is the St. Louis Blues. What's going on over there in St. Louis? Do you have anything on them?
So what I know about Doug Armstrong is that he was heavy on Ben Sherratt and Hampus Lindholm. And where does he turn to? Because he clearly wants to improve the defense. He just struck out on Justin Braun as well. I don't think it's a deal that gets done today. I think it's one of those deals, as good buddy Rush Joy mentioned with the Snow the Goalie podcast. It's one of those deals that maybe gets talked about now and then finalized in the offseason. But I think there's legitimate smoke and interest with Ivan Provorov and or Travis Sanheim and the St. Louis Blues. And I think that is what Doug Armstrong has kicked tires on in the last 24 to 48 hours. And I think he will continue to do it. I think it'll take a king's ransom to move Ivan Provorov right now off the Philadelphia roster. I think they're still interested in either making that decision at the draft or seeing what he can do with Ryan Ellis playing next to him on the blue line next year in black and orange. So I don't think that is a deal that gets done today. But desperation, deadlines bring desperation. That's my line. I love saying it. I think it's a possibility that we hear some smoke later on as we approach 3 p.m. Provorov, Sanheim, the two names I'm looking for in St. Louis.
Nashville gets Alex Biega, return to be determined from Toronto. Toronto's been quiet, especially as far as acquisitions go. Goalie's not really going to be a thing anymore. Maybe it's a forward, but what's going on with Toronto at this point?
Well, their big fish was Giordano, despite the fact that Mark Giordano probably only wanted to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Calgary Flames. So that's why we talked about the Calgary Flames. We talked about Toronto Maple Leafs not wanting to give up a first. They really didn't have to because Giordano wanted to end up there, and it worked out for both parties. So I can't imagine they do anything bigger than that, only because they're pressed for it now. And if Kyle Dubas doesn't want to move that first-round pick as a rental, and we see the prices that these guys are getting on the open market, not much for Toronto to really do between the cap space and the fact they don't want to give up that first-round pick as an asset.
That's fair. Did this fix the reverb problem, by the way? I just unplugged my computer.
It did.
How about that?
There you go.
How about that?
It's the battery flowing. You hear the feedback from the battery flowing. The juice is flowing.
I think there's something to do with how my mic is plugged in close by it. But the Justin Braun return has been made official. That's a third-round pick in 2023. That is a good sign for one Buffalo Sabre Colin Miller if Justin Braun is getting a third-round pick.
Yeah, and Cold Stove Pod, we sat on the maybe Tuesday's episode, and you asked me what the return would be on Justin Braun, and I said that's a classic. That's the reverse Adam McQuaid, the third and the maybe conditional fifth at the deadline at like 2 p.m. when everybody's bored. And that's exactly what Justin Braun was. 35 years old, right-handed defenseman. There's the depth of the New York Rangers. And not surprising to see a third-round pick. I think Chuck Fletcher held out for a second-round pick, seeing what some of these defensemen are getting on the market. But nobody's given that for a 35-year-old, UFA at the end of the year.
Who's another guy that I think wherever he ends up, they sort of end up very much in the Stanley Cup conversation is a guy like Nick Leddy. And Detroit's been Stevie Y. He's always got something going on over there, but
it's quiet.
I could see Detroit being busier than people maybe thought going in.
I could see there being a possibility that Nick Leddy stays in Detroit. I think they've had that conversation. Stevie White really loves that guy. And if you're talking about a team that can use some veteran presence in the locker room as they continue to build and get better here in the next couple of seasons, Nick Leddy back for 3 years or so is not a bad shout. You can do a lot worse than Nick Leddy on your blue line.
100%. 100%. And he's a guy that he'd be the perfect, if he was a right shot versus a left shot, give me Nick Leddy for the Sabres tomorrow. I'd be very, very happy with that. They could do a lot worse than a guy like Nick Leddy. Another guy that's his name's been out there that I can probably throw all the cold water on. I think John Klingberg stays a Dallas Star, NRD.
Yeah, they need as much help as they can get in the blue line. I still think they added defensemen by the end of today. I think they were in on Justin Braun as well.
I guess we shall see. I got my phone is blowing up with Craig Anderson speculation and saying stuff makes sense. I don't know if Victor Olefson is still in play in Buffalo. Who are you watching right now, NRD, in the Bat Cave closely?
Well, I know everybody's going to continue to ask who's the one name that you've heard that isn't being talked about, the blah, 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 the yada, yada.
Absolutely am.
So, to me, and I don't think this is a deal that gets done today or is able to be manifested in less than 12 hours, from last night into today. But I think a lot of teams are calling on, Alex DeBrincat. His name's been quietly out there. It's been thrown around a couple of times on a couple of shows, a couple of big shows, 32 Thoughts and whatnot. I think teams are really interested to see what Chicago thinks about doing with him if his timeline meshes with the rebuild that they want to have there. And if not, I could see a team pulling the trigger, and he's going to bring back a lot in that trade. Looking at what Brandon Hagel got from Tampa Bay, I think DeBrincat is going to bring 2 times that, and he's the name that's quiet under the radar right now. Another name like that, Mark Scheifele. He's not going to be moved today, but I heard from a source, some whispers out of Winnipeg, same source that gave me the good scoop last night for those Winnipeg fans, that it's been murmurs around the building that there's a possibility that Scheifele will not re-sign again in Winnipeg. I think he's got a year or another year or 2 years on his contract there with the Jets. I don't think he's going to re-up that again. I think he'd be open to a move. I don't think he's requesting a move by any means, but I think he's willing to hear that out. So not a name that I think comes about in the next 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes, but Scheifele's another name out there. I think we watch that when we're on the next live show in the offseason.
Can't wait for that. Does I just got a text. Does Connor Garland come home, NRD, to Boston?
Don Sweeney's working on it.
Yeah, I think there's I'm trying to not give this away. There's something going on with Connor Garland and Jake DeBrusk.
Boots on the ground, as one person would put it.
Yeah, boots on the ground, as one would say. The other name I just got is Vinny Hinostroza in Buffalo. A guy, a quick player, really good skater who is a very good kind of third line addition to a playoff team. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one. NRD. Let's take some user submissions here. We want to talk about this real quick. Let's see. Teams who are in playoff contention in the Eastern Conference, teams that are set for the playoffs, others at late season shuffles. I can't really understand what you're asking there, so we're going to go to the next one. Pavel Zacha, Brock Besser. We've mentioned Brock Besser probably on the table today. I don't think anything's imminent with him. Pavel Zacha might be a little different. NRD, anything there?
I still, on our go-home show before today's show on the Thursday episode of Cold Stuff Pod, I said I lean towards he does end up somewhere else than New Jersey at the deadline. I wonder if he ends up with one of those teams that are not in contention but looking to buy, i.e. a Columbus, i.e. a Buffalo, i.e. one of those teams that are on the outside looking in, but will add selectively if the right opportunity presents itself.
Come on, Yarmo, do something. I think he's very much doing something with one of his goaltenders or Matt Domi. I think that's going to happen today very much at some point. Any Preds rumblings? Well, there's a Bieda involved. Other than that, David Poile, just one of the smartest GMs in the league, obviously Northeastern Husky, so keep an eye there. But nothing imminent that I have.
No, and Philip Forsberg staying. So not extending, but staying. So keep an eye on that in the offseason.
DK Madge came on here late. Anything on Stasny? My vote is Colorado, but that's more a makes sense than anything. Anything else the Wild are in on, I'd argue the Wild are in on a lot of things. It's a must-win year for them because they have cap hell coming up. And that's such a lame take, and that's such a chalked take, but guess what? It's true. So I'm sure Bill Guerin's making calls. I don't, they've been busy this morning, busier than certain Buffalo Sabres team, but I would assume that anything and everything they are in on. I don't think like a Matt Dumba is going to move today, but certainly I'm sure somebody has called on him.
No, I don't think they move anybody off their roster outside of Capo Kakinen. I think they continue to add, but Bill Guerin's a smart GM, right? And I wouldn't say he played us all like a fiddle, but he did say he's not going to make a move for the sake of making a move. And then he pulled off the biggest move of the deadline, arguably. So, yeah, he doing his job as a GM.
Would the Isles move Mayfield with these insane prices? My vote is yes. But,
absolutely.
And that's a name I've heard in Buffalo. John Vogel's heard that in Buffalo. Buffalo's got a lot of picks. Buffalo's got some pretty good prospects. So we'll see there. I'd expect a guy like Ryan Johnson to go back in that deal if it does indeed happen. Oh man, any big name centers that could be moved? Let's say for Larkin. I heard that too. I don't tend to think so. Everybody already says look out for this crazy surprise trade. I don't really see it right now. I'm not hearing a lot of it right now. I think it's just a perfectly depth deadline. But then again, I could very much eat crow in an hour here. So any you have a take on that, NRD?
No, I think the two centers that, or if we consider him a center, the one DeBrincat, the other one Shifley, and I just
Oh,
gave you
and
my
don't
answer.
forget my Arturi Lekkinen, my man.
Well, I think there's a good shot he's moved here in the short order, but he's those two names I gave before, the two names that I would say in the center market that I don't think get moved today, but have been talked about and are something to watch for going forward. I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that, and Chuck Fletcher said this in an interview last year, before the Ryan Ellis trade, when Philly acquired Ryan Ellis, and Chuck Fletcher spoke to the media, he had mentioned that you have to realize a lot of times the deals that happen in the offseason get worked on today. And there's interest and teams know where they're at. And maybe cap space doesn't match because, you have to have everything cap compliant before 5 p.m. today and whatnot. But a lot of deals get brokered today, a lot of groundwork, a lot of foundation poured to get done in June. So those names are the names I'm looking at. Shifley more in particular than DeBrincat, because I think there's a lot of merit to DeBrincat staying in Chicago. But a name that you might hear something in a little bit, hey, talks are going on, doesn't end up happening, but then happens in the offseason.
Yeah, it's just that's one of those things that even if you get close today, maybe on a guy with some term and can't not necessarily make it work. Let's see where we end up, and because draft picks obviously change. 3 or 4 months ago, it looked like the Sabres who got the Vegas Golden Knights draft pick this year, first rounder, that was going to be 31, 32 potentially, and now it could be top 15. So teams make runs, teams get cold, and a lot of the time that a guy that doesn't necessarily need to be moved to a non-contender that can wait for after the deadline or after the season before the draft to make something happen there, right, NRD?
Yeah, no, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I'm sorry. I was reading the comments. I saw one question come in from Jimmy Mack. Any chance William Karlsson was moved? I actually just spoke to somebody in Vegas, and it's been very quiet there. So,
But we always said it was Riley Smith, and then their entire team catches the injury bug. So that somebody mentioned Korpisalo got injured too, or Elvis got injured, whoever last night. And so injuries, deadlines breed action, right? That's the word of the day. Injuries breed inaction.
yeah. And teams are tied up, or at least inaction for good reasons and bad reasons, right? Like Vegas was going to have to lose a key piece off that roster if everybody was healthy because they were in cap compliant.
And they still will at some point, but it just potentially won't be today.
In June, and it's probably just Riley Smith walking for nothing as a free agent.
Yeah, because at some point these guys are going to come back. They probably end up taking a little bit of advantage of the LTIR, but they have to make the playoffs. That's not a sure bet.
And that's one of the things that I'm gonna because Tampa Bay had it locked up the past couple of years with Kucherov on LTIR, right? And that's the joke about Tampa just burying Kucherov to the playoffs. But at least in Vegas's case, the conspiracy theory, that tinfoil hat theory, does not apply here because they have to compete to make the playoffs. They need these guys healthy as possible to try to get in. You don't want these guys hurt. You don't want these guys missing a beat. You want these guys logging minutes, taking shifts on the ice. To have a guy come back 2 weeks to go in the season in April, ice cold off his, wrist surgery is not a great thing. And I don't think that anybody wanted that, despite, there happened to being some positive cap consequences to that.
Hey, Merriman, you said it was a busy night because it is. But they don't have a big piece in Buffalo that they're trying to. It's not a Jack Eichel thing where they're media leverage. They just have a bunch of rentals. They're trying to buy things. But again, we still have 2 hours here. The rentals, you know what you're going to get: 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, Robert Haig, for example. But they're he's busy in the fact that he's on the phone talking to people, but we're going to see a flurry of Sabres trades get done, before the deadline here, whether it's a Hinostroza, whether it's Colin Miller, obviously. So he's busy, but again, deadlines breed action, and we're getting close. So
one question in the chat, Subban, probably not. Zaka, maybe. Yeah. With PK Subban, I haven't heard anything. And then, I wouldn't expect to hear anything. He'll be a free agent at the end of this year. Can't imagine a team taking a flyer on PK Subban, despite the fact that, he's up off the books at the end of this season. Great community guy and all that, but just not Funny comment there from Evan. What can we get in return if we trade Subban to ESPN? Well, we know he'll end up in Bristol once, his playing career is up. I don't think that's yet, but I don't think he gets traded today.
Let's see. Do you think Patrick Kane gets moved? I know friend Barstool Chief pretty adamant that it's not going to happen today. I tend to agree with him. I think he's pretty plugged in there. But would he go anywhere in the offseason?
Yeah. I think that's a sit down, right? It's a sit down with Jonathan Toews. It's a sit down with Patrick Kane. It's a conversation with Kyle Davidson. It's to say, where do you guys feel that you fit in on this team? If we commit to a rebuild here, where do you think that, you guys fit in, and do you want to be moved for another chance at a Stanley Cup? And I think that's a conversation that has to happen in the offseason. It can't happen within, 4 hours of the deadline.
Let's see. David Pagnotta tweeting that Dutch continue to work the phones on Rickard Rakell with the Rangers among the teams still believed to be interested.
Yeah, I've heard that. Just mentioned that a couple minutes ago. Rickard Rakell and the New York Rangers not ready to throw the old E-scale on that yet, but I think that the Rangers are in the hunt there, in addition to a couple other teams, the Boston Bruins, the Colorado Avalanche, the Carolina Hurricanes. I think that the Rangers are competing with a few, but they're one of the teams with a lot of interest in Rickard Rakell.
Oh, Bobby Margarita's tweeting out some stuff today. No Rasmus Sandin for Toronto today on the ice. It's a longer-term injury. Obviously, he's an LTIR candidate. Gives Toronto a little bit of cap flexibility today. Still think it's a relatively quiet day for Kyle Dubas. Do you agree?
I still think it's quiet. I think Giordano's their big fish in terms of he wanted to go there. They got him. And that's just it with the Leafs. They didn't acquire the goaltender, and I don't think there's a goaltender left on the market worth acquiring.
All right. What'd you have for breakfast today, NRD? We'll get off hockey for a second.
Ton of coffee and a muffin. How's that sound?
That's right where I'm at too. I'm crushing a Celsius. I don't know if you're on the Celsius train yet, but man,
I am on the Celsius train. I heard something the other day about the NCAA not allowing Celsius anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I maybe heard it. Maybe somebody just shooting the shit or whatever and talking out of both sides of their ass. But I did hear that Celsius was not allowed in the NCAA. I think that's false though.
Oh, that's just, man, that is absolutely brutal. I don't know I can't remember if we mentioned this one. Jacob Middleton to Minnesota, a big defenseman from San Jose, and that's the Capo Kakinen trade plus a 2022 fifth for the Sharks. The Sharks are going to be busy. We know this. Anybody else with Hurdle locked up? Do you see San Jose doing much more the rest of the afternoon?
Besides a James Reimer trade, no. I could see Reimer. See, we talked about one side of the Georgiev thing is that can't see the Rangers making a move without bringing in a capable backup. On the other side of that is a guy like James Reimer a capable backup? If you trade Georgiev for, and this is just making an example, right? This is just for the sake of conversation. You trade Georgiev for a second, and then you trade a fourth for James Reimer. It's a net gain, right?
Sure.
So is he a guy that's an upgrade? Not sure of that, but, we talk about James Reimer being on the move now. He's definitely more than expendable.
They do have one guy who I could see going to a contender, fourth line, healthy scratch, but playoff sort of guy. That's an Andrew Cagliano. He is a $1 million pending UFA.
Cheap,
yeah.
NHL's Iron Man, right?
Cheap president.
One of the Iron Men.
Does he have it now, or is he's coming up on it?
I don't know if he's coming up. I think that
Kessel's
I might be wrong here. They could tell me in the comments. I think that streak got cut for some reason with a suspension or whatnot. But because it's Keith, right? Keith Yandel has the Iron Man streak right now.
Yeah. And then Kessel's involved in that too.
But Cagliano's got to be up there, or at least barring one or two games that he missed, he's played a shit ton of games consecutively in this league.
This is one of those, hope you're sitting down, my man, if you're talking about Justin Braun.
Yeah, that's been done, pal. He's New York Ranger defenseman now, Justin Braun.
Yep, there he is.
Yeah, there you go. The Rangers got Bronner.
This getting off hockey for a second. Hope you stay safe. We got some nasty weather rolling in later on. I'm keeping my Twitter timeline open for that as well. Yeah, I got a bailout spot though. I'm in an apartment complex, so I'm not super worried about it. But there's a parking garage about 300 yards from where I'm standing right now. That will be all right.
If Brett has to go into the garage, this show's cut, guys. Sorry. Hate to tell you. I can't drive the show by myself.
You can't have NRD going absolutely solo.
I don't have my
One,
CDL. I'm not driving this bus alone.
two New York Islanders questions I have, NRD. That is one, Cal Clutterbuck, and two, Semyon Varlamov. Does any of those scratch your itch today?
Varlamov in the Leafs like a week and a half ago, but it's not scratching it today. I think right now Lou Lamoriello is content to being as stubborn as he is. Shots to incarcerated Bob. He mentioned on Twitter that Andy Green's available for depth. I don't think Andy Green wants to go very far. In fact, some of you keen-eyed followers saw my tweet last night about Lou. Has he made any trades with the New York Rangers? And I only threw that out there because there were some whispers last night from some people that I trust about the Rangers in their search for a depth defenseman. Justin Braun, obviously the name that they got, but Andy Green being one of those names just because it would have came very cheap and he doesn't really want to move out of the metropolitan area. So mention that, but he's obviously not going to New York now, but he's available for depth. Chara, another guy like that, I think Chara holds the cards. I think there's a lot of respect there for him. And if Z said, hey, I want to go back to Boston, I think Lou would accommodate that. Other than that, though, I don't think that any team is going to be knocking down Lamoriello's door to acquire Zdeno Chara. And Clutterbuck, Colorado Avalanche we talked about. I think that's hot and cold. He provides a lot of depth to a playoff team. Wouldn't mind seeing a reunion in Minnesota for Clutter.
Don't hate that either. Oh, man. Let's see what we got here. Man, I'm going to Austin this week. Where's the best place to watch basketball with the boys? You can't go. It's great weather week coming up there. So I would Little Woodrow's on West 6th, pretty much anywhere on West 6th. Buford's, Key Bar, Rustic Tap is one of my favorites. A lot of indoor-outdoor bars with a ton of TVs. Just kind of walk up and down West 6th. You will have a blast. Or Rainy Street, but that's a little less sports bar TV based and a little more of a scene, if you will. NRD, what's the chance of Provorov to the Blues, and what type of return could they expect?
I'd say less than 50%. That being said, though, Doug Armstrong's working that phone, man. I think he's got a lot of interest in both, Flyers defenseman Ivan Provorov and Travis Sanheim. I don't really think it makes sense for the Philadelphia Flyers to move Travis Sanheim right now. He's comfortable playing alongside Rasmus Ristolainen. You just paid Rasmus a lot of money to stay. I think you see what they can do together for the rest of the season. They clearly work well together. Sanheim's having his best year in Philly. So I don't know why you'd trade him, but I think Provorov's the big fish. The only thing, though, is, like I said, it's going to take a king's ransom. And I'm going to pause after I say this because I know you guys are going to have a big chuckle at my expense. But I'm not saying this that I think it's a good deal. But, if Chuck Fletcher says, I want Robert Thomas, obviously Doug Armstrong doesn't do that. But there's a very real possibility Chuck Fletcher says, I want Robert Thomas. And I think that is where we're at right now, right? Chuck Fletcher's going to stick to his high asking price. It's not a deal that he has to make today at the deadline. But going forward towards the draft, maybe that price dips a little bit. Maybe they work on a deal that's agreeable for both sides.
Let's go to Stefan. Are you guys hearing of Jets working in anything beyond the obvious Kopp, Stastny, etc.? I think both Kopp and Stastny are better than 50% move today. I don't think Scheifele is a today move. But a guy like I always mention, Pierre-Luc Dubois, pending RFA, he's going to be expensive, but is that a move that gets done? Maybe. But that would kind of be it. I don't think they're going to do much else. They're not really in a buying position, NRD. Anything on Winnipeg that you like?
I'm working on Winnipeg phones, or our phone, I should say. I think there's only one phone in the entire general vicinity of Winnipeg. They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have an airport.
Yeah.
I think they got 2 pay phones. But, I have been working that phone. Those that are in the know that I have some people out in Winnipeg working the phones for me. I really appreciate them. And we're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with Copper and Stastny at this point. Things have been quiet, which leads me to believe that something's close, but I will let you guys all know on here and on Twitter once that comes through. Sorry, Kenton. I know. I got to take my shots while I get them. I apologize to the city of Winnipeg. Win in on Columbus, win in on Winnipeg. You know, if you're sensing a theme here on cities that I'm going to go in on, maybe have more than like a one-horse town, and I won't make fun of you. No, I'm just kidding. Love you guys in Columbus and Winnipeg.
Mr. Dollywall on Vancouver, as of 10 minutes ago, very quiet for Canucks. They're getting calls on Tyler Mott and Mr. Shen, but quiet besides that right now. Maybe Yarrow Halak is involved there today too, but Vancouver, our eyes are on them, and we're kind of waiting for shoes to drop over there, and maybe it's just quiet for quiet's sake. But who is the first any first Canuck today to move NRD?
Probably Tyler Mott, just because it's the deal that's the easiest to make.
Right.
You just think that in terms of the first, it's the easier deal. Some team will step up, give them the draft pick that they want, and that deal will be done and on its way. I still think there's a chance Connor Garland gets moved. Don Sweeney.
I do too.
Telling you,
I really do too.
I really do think there's a chance that they bring him back to Massachusetts. And, I'm not sitting here saying it's done or anything like that. Not going to wear an egg on my face if it doesn't happen. But, I really do think Don Sweeney's working that phone to try to get it done. He's been in the works for that for a while. He's been after this guy since he was in Arizona. He's now in, Vancouver. He's a Boston Bruin through and through.
Let's see. We have Mr. Anthony DeMarco saying that Flyers are not moving Provorov or Travis Sanheim today. Interest and things can change down the line, but nothing happening today.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair, and he's a good guy. I get a chance to talk to him every once in a while. He's doing good work for the fourth period. Yeah, I think that aligns with what I'm saying. I think there has been interest, right, namely from the St. Louis Blues, but Chuck Fletcher just doesn't have to make that move, and that's why I threw out a name like Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou, right? Like, Chuck Fletcher could pick up the phone and say, hey, I want Kyrou or Thomas. Armstrong says no. Doesn't mean that there isn't interest. It means that there's no deal today. It means that something can happen down the line. I think he hit the nail on the head on that the tweet.
This is from T2XX. I read Fiala is being shopped. Is that true? Yeah, I know Buffalo was kind of a name around there. I don't think Kevin Fiala is going to be moved today. That'll be an offseason thing. I do think there's a better than likely chance that he's moved in the offseason. NRD, anything outside of that there?
No, it's the offseason for sure, because they're going to be in cap hell coming up soon, but you want guys there to compete, right? Clearly, you're all in now with the Marc-Andre Fleury deal and adding and sending out Capo Kakinen and bringing in defensemen. So you're all in Minnesota. You need everybody there if you're going to make a run at the Stanley Cup, especially, with the two Titans of the Western Conference. We talk about Colorado and the Calgary Flames being so strong, but, Marc-Andre Fleury could steal some games for you in the postseason.
No doubt. What do you think about Elliott continuing to link Columbus to Jacob Chychrun? I'll go first quickly here. I get that they're, obviously not a contender this year, and that he does have contenders that are involved. Long story short, I think if he's going to Columbus, it's not today, it's in the offseason.
No, I agree with that point. I don't think Chychrun goes anywhere today unless the team gets extremely desperate. But it makes a lot of sense if we're talking about the fit. He's one of those guys that he makes sense for 31 teams in this league because he's young, he's affordable, he's under contract, plays defense. Like, he's the perfect package. What could you not like about a guy like Jacob Chychrun? So, the fact that we're talking about Buffalo potentially being interested in him, maybe not, maybe that's cooled off, but at one point, looking into it at least, or the Flyers, or, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like, he's the type of guy that fits everywhere because of his age and his contract. Not surprised at all that Elliott's pushing that. He's probably spot on with that. I just don't think it happens today.
Any word on how Nashville feels about Tolvanen? Showed a lot of promise last season, ice cold this season. Sophomore slump. I think he'll be fine. That's a good player. I liked him coming out, but that's just, people are up and down year over year, and next year he'll bounce back, in my opinion.
And he's a guy that's had a lot of hype too. People have talked about Tolvanen for years being the hyped prospect in Nashville, and anything short of being a top six right off the bat, I think people are going to be disappointed. He'll be, like you said, he'll be completely fine there.
Any eyes on Rupe Hintz? A lot of eyes on Rupe Hintz. Why would you not like Rupe Hintz? But I think Dallas is not going to obviously give up one of their top young superstars. They're in win now mode more than anything. I know Holtby had that scare. I think he'll be all right. But no, Dallas is going to kind of ride with the horses that they've got. Pavelski said as much. Shouts to, what is it, Merriman Mortars, NRD?
Merriman Mortars, Brett's Bottle Rockets, whatever you want to call them.
Brett's
Brett is the
bottle.
guy. Listen, Brett's coming for my thunder. I got Brett in on this, right? Like we started this podcast, and ever since then, Brett has been absolute money with his sources. We're grooming him to be the second insider on the show. Just like Marek has his sources as well now that he's carved out for himself. I think Brett's getting there.
Yeah. So, I mean, my biggest thing is that I just don't have a lot of them. I got basically 2 teams NRD, and then I got some, let's call them old friends that I can text here and there. But we'll see. We'll see where the source game goes. I think I like hosting more than sourcing, if you will.
Yeah, listen. Shouts to Garth Brooks. Brett's got friends. Lovely places.
Per Emily Kaplan, Alexander Georgiev will not be moved this deadline. NRD. I think that makes sense. After last night, he put up a really good game. If you move him, you have to replace him, and that tells me that there's not really a replacement that they like right now.
No, and that meshes with everybody's been saying all along here. Actually, I'll read the quote right now. This is straight from somebody who transcribed what she said on the ESPN Deadline show. The Rangers told Georgiev they will find him a new home in the summer, but they need him as a backup for the rest of the season. And that's accurate. That means that you're not going to acquire James Reimer or Thomas Greiss. You're fine with Georgiev being unhappy for a little bit longer. You know he could play well when he's on, right? Like last night, he had a 44 save shutout against one of the best teams in hockey, if not the best team in hockey. So why are you in a rush to move a guy? Let him be unhappy. And that, is a great segue here into the Jake DeBrusk questions that we're getting in the chat. Yeah, I think that if they make a play for Connor Garland, it makes sense for him to be going the other way. But he did get paid now. Yeah, there's a trade request still in play, but he's performing pretty well for the Bruins right now. And it might be one of those situations where if they can't broker a big deal ahead of the deadline, Don Sweeney says, just, shut up and we'll find you a home in the offseason, pal. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. The better you play, the quicker we'll get you out of here come June.
Yeah, we're not gonna staple you to the bench. You're gonna get some tread. I bet you even gets a playoff game. If they're up 3-1 in the series, throw up Georgiev and show what you got, kid. But we'll see. We'll see. DeBrusk's resurgence is overstated. Yeah, I don't know. I just like him as a player, but he goes on to say he had a nice shooting percentage heater for a bit there. Yeah, like that happens, and you guys shoot 20% sometimes, and then they put in a couple points and they get hot. But he's certainly not a bad player. He's certainly not a guy that's can't repeat that over and over. Maybe he's going to shoot 20%, probably not, but he's going to shoot 7%. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, he may be overstated, and I apologize if I am overselling Jake DeBrusk, but he's scoring goals. And for how bad he was at the beginning of the season when he requested a trade, at least he looks like a guy who's playing to get the hell out of there and have some team like him, So maybe overselling what he's doing actually, statistically speaking, but at least he looks like he's playing like a player who wants to be there again, despite, not wanting to be in Boston.
Let's see. Let's go dig in while it seems to be lunch break for the GMs right now. Your favorite trade, or maybe the most impactful trade for a team that has happened thus far, is what, NRD?
Marc-Andre Fleury to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a good one. I kind of like the Nick Paul. Like I like what Tampa's doing, kind of trying to rebuild that third line.
Yeah, Tampa has done a great job of. Everybody says what cap space. Nick Paul's only making. I mean, you have to talk extension with him in the offseason, but
Sure,
he's making less than $2 million, and we know Hagel's not making anything because he's still an RFA under that contract. So, is that a lot for Brandon Hagel? Taylor Radish, Boris Kachuk, and Kachuk, as they say, and a couple of first-round picks. Yeah, it's a haul, but at the same time, it reminds me a lot of the, it's cliche, but it reminds me a lot of the Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow deal, where maybe a little much on the surface, but he's affordable and they got their guy. So if you have a guy, you take him. It doesn't matter what the price is. If he's worth that to you, that's what he's worth then.
And then Hagel, same kind of deal. I also like the Delorier to Minnesota. That kind of feels like, Fleury, Delorier, couple Frenchmen up there in Minnesota to go to the playoffs with if they can get in, and then Hampus Lindholm in Boston. I think they've been looking for a Hampus Lindholm type for a long time there. probably since the departure of Zdeno Chara. NRD, what do we got going on now? We're top of the hour, not top of the hour, excuse me, 12:15 Central, 1:15 Eastern. Trade deadline is a little less than 2 hours away. People seem to be at lunch right now. How are the vibes on your end, NRD?
Vibes are fun. I promise you guys we will do this till we're not entertaining anymore. And I think that's one of the words I told Brett last night. Let's just rip it till we're boring. So hopefully you guys are enjoying what we're doing here. I appreciate all the support. The Twitter Spaces last night was a lot of fun too. I love taking your guys' questions. Share the link with a friend. I know there's a lot of options right now on trade deadline day. A couple of our competitors, but I hope we're providing a little bit something different here if you're fans of the Cold Stove Pod. So keep it going in the comments. Like I said, we'll get out of here if you guys think we're boring, but I don't right now. At least we got a little bit to go before the deadline, and we'll keep kicking it with you guys. The vibes are positive here right now.
Yeah, let's get some more. Let's get some. Yeah, I like Alex said, immaculate vibes. I like that. And you know what? I think I'm going to agree with Jimmy Mack here. I kind of gave Kyle Dubas some shit. I agree. I think Gio to Toronto is going to be a bigger move than maybe on the surface today, right? He's going to provide a lot of
stability,
a lot of experience. He's not necessarily like the most playoff experienced guy in the world, but he's played with a lot of good teams, a lot of egos in his day. Had a cool little Seattle thing where he got that team going and then provided assets. I'm sure he loves Seattle. I loved him as a Calgary Flame. I tend to agree that that's going to be an impactful trade for them. Come like April 23rd, we're going to see Giordano set up Austin Matthews in overtime for a playoff goal. Maybe they win a playoff series with him. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, a possibility. He's that type of player, right?
I'm going to put this, by the way, NRD at 0.
0.0, 0.0. -1. Is
Not
negative
even
1 a percentage?
Whatever the most zero number is, that's less than 0. Oh, Thomas Greiss. Haven't heard that name in a second. For a third, I say no. What say you, NRD?
No, I think that I know it's my job to give you guys the answers, but let me ask everybody this question. Who really needs Thomas Greiss at this point that's willing to pay for him that, wasn't competing on Fleury? Edmonton, does he move the needle for you in Edmonton, John? I appreciate the question. I'm not trying to beat up on you particularly, but does he move the needle for you in Edmonton? Probably not. Does he move the needle for you in Toronto? Absolutely not. So if that's where you're at, does any team really need to acquire Thomas Greiss at this point?
No. They haven't really showcased him, if they were trying to get a haul for him. This is kind of what we're looking at now. Matt Domi, Phil Kessel, Ricard Raquel, which of them get moved and where? I tend to think all of them are moved. I think Raquel to the Rangers is probably the hottest. I think Domi to the Avs or Boston is probably the hottest. And frankly, with Phil Kessel, wherever Phil wants to go. Do you agree or disagree, NRD?
No, I agree completely. Whoever has the best hot dogs.
Yeah. Oh, I had a hot dog yesterday. Just really one of those game changer hungover hot dogs at the pool before heading over to my sunset dinner.
Great
really
stuff,
nice
man.
Stuff. I'm good for 1 or 2 hot dogs a year, but
wedding was good though. Looked fun.
Oh, we had a blast. Shouts to Captain Cons. Congratulations to him and his lovely bride, Alex. Good to see some of the old friends. Chopped it up. I was actually standing talking with Feidelberg as the Lindholm trade was made. So that was fun to see him get all pumped up about that. But good time. I owe West Florida an apology. I wasn't exactly all in on West Florida going down there, and Naples is a good little spot right there. It's a little expensive there, but what are you putting on your hot dogs? Ketchup and mustard. I go to the mixture. No relish though.
No, relish is overrated. Mustard all the way. Sauerkraut too, if you want to get a little fancy.
Yeah, maybe some onions and chili if you really want to get messy with it. That doesn't happen a lot for me. Brett, what do you think happens with Olefson? I think he re-signs in Buffalo. He's not going to get a huge raise as a pending RFA. I don't think he gets traded today unless they get a first-round pick for him. Is Lehkonen getting traded? Heard he was winning a cup. I think so. I think a lot of people now are realizing that Arturi Lehkonen can help them win a cup. So I think what's happening there is there's a bidding war going on. Brats over hot dogs. Disagree. What do you think happens with Marazzic? I think he is kind of in a weird spot there in Toronto. I think he was sort of the goalie going the other way. If they brought in a Fleury, they might just kind of hang on to him. NRD, anything there?
To Peter Marazzic,
Yeah.
he's going to clear if he didn't clear already.
Oh,
Did he
yeah,
clear
they
waivers?
waived him.
Yeah, they waived him. Does he clear? I think he cleared. If he didn't clear already, he will clear. They signed that Finnish kid, or he's not even a kid anymore. He's like 30 years old.
Yeah.
Played really well at the Olympics for Team Finland. I actually thought it was really funny to hear what Mike McKenna said about the kid. And he wasn't beating up on the kid, but I agreed with his point. Like, he's been in the NHL system for many years now. He was with Grand Rapids, with the Detroit farm system. Never really broke out into the NHL. What makes you think he's going to do it now at the age of 30 off a hot European season? Because it's just a different level of competition. And I do have something on Andrew Kopp. So if you guys want a little Andrew Kopp update, this is just the latest. Nothing's done yet.
I was just saying we need like an alarm, a cold stove alert.
Yeah, so it looks like, and this is, no secret that it's the same three teams, but it looks like the Rangers, the Colorado Avalanche. Oh, there you go, a little cold stove alert.
Cold stove alert, NRD.
Breaking news, but nothing breaking yet. Just that it looks like the Rangers, Colorado Avalanche, and Boston Bruins are indeed the final three on Andrew Kopp. Looks like Colorado is the front runner for that right now. I think that Winnipeg is holding out for a first-round pick that hasn't come through yet. I think Colorado has the most appealing offer of a second and a prospect for Kopp. We'll see what Kevin Cheveldayoff could do by pitting those against each other in a bidding war. But right now, the final three on Kopp, barring anything surprising in the next hour or so, is he's going to be a New York Ranger, Colorado Avalanche, or Boston Bruin. Boston probably in third place behind those two.
There it is. Cold stove alert, NRD. Why does NRD sound like Ryan Whitney? Well, here's the truth to everybody. I've been doing a podcast with Ryan Whitney for the last year or however long we've been doing it, 6 months. No, just kidding. Ryan Whitney's got his own thing going on the Spit and Chicklets. They're doing well. Let's see. Any college players making the NHL jump? I think there will be a lot. Hockey East has wrapped up. The Huskies lost to the Yukon Huskies, so that was a bummer. But they still made the tournament. And then Devin Levi and Owen Power will both be reporting to Buffalo, which is going to be interesting. I think that's out there, though. That's not like news. Maybe Levi, but
another shout to our guy Incarcerated Bob, who did have that Martin St. Louis scoop, right? People like the dog on IB, but he does go hard in the paint when it comes to scooping some stuff. He's got some people in his DMs. He did just say that the
Eklund too. He nailed he got a Florida scoop.
Yeah, I thought this was 2006. Eklund actually had something. Ooh, you disappeared on me, Brett. Where'd you go? Brett, did I lose you? I think we lost Brett, everybody. So if you guys can still hear me.
I'm back. Oh, sorry there.
Brett. That got scary. I didn't know what I was going to do without you, man. I was like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. I had my hands up. If you guys could see me right now.
You guys like how NRD, even with the Lojo treatment, has still not revealed. Yeah, this is Gary Bettman took me out with a drone.
Bettman's got shooters out in these streets, man. But to that point, people dog on Incarcerated Bob, but he does do great work. I think he does at least. He's a fun guy to interact with on Twitter. I know some of you guys love interacting with him, but he did just mention that the Arturi Lehkonen smoke is heating up as we get closer to 3 p.m. today.
Yeah, that's going to be that's the perfect deadline trade. Guy has created a lot of value for himself. He's cheap. He's going to have a lot of teams in on him, and that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Holtby on the move. Why trade for Wedgwood? Yeah, I think that's more of a Holtby sort of injury protection situation, because obviously having 3 goalies is better than 2, and Dallas knows all too well what can happen to goalies, especially as they get up in their careers and age. So I think that is purely insurance. I don't think Holtby is going anywhere. And I say that if somebody offers you a first-round pick for Braden Holtby, guess what you do? But no, I think that's more insurance than anything. Gives them options and get Wedgwood for cheap.
Yeah. No, there's a chance he ends up on LTIR here soon.
Yeah. Holtby. There you go. Did Tom Fitzgerald's phone die? If it would happen to anybody, I think it's Tom Fitzgerald. or Armstrong. Can you imagine that? They just forget to charge their phone.
That'd be great,
Just
man.
some of these dinosaur GMs that are there are no landlines in the office anymore, so they're just using cell phones and it dies on them on trade deadline day.
Shouts to Lou Lamoriello. He's still trying to figure out how to get onto America Online right now.
No,
He's in the
Lou
dial-up.
definitely has a landline that's got like it's like the little cords that are curly.
The curly
Lou,
cord. He's got a rotary phone.
no way Lou Lamoriello is. Yeah, Lou is not on a cell phone today. He's got a landline. He's like, give me so and so on line 1. They're not taking those out of Lou Lamoriello's office.
It's like a scene of Mad Men. Lou Lamoriello. It's like old school. It's like set in the 50s. Yeah, 100%. I can see that from Uncle Lou. Little housekeeping. I think I'm springing this on Brett. I think he knows. But we will have our first guest coming up soon in Cold Stove Pod history. I think sooner than later after the deadline.
Yeah.
We just laid some groundwork with a name that you guys all love to see on your TV sets throughout the past, decade or so of NHL hockey on TV. So we will have that individual on here sooner than later. Hopefully you guys enjoy the guest that we will have on the Cold Stove Pod.
Yeah, I think a couple of guests coming up. We kind of wanted, the idea was to establish ourselves. Obviously, having guests on, we're not a storytelling podcast. Like Chicklets and Missing Curfew do a great job of getting you what it feels like to be on the bus after a game, right? 32 Thoughts does a great job of being very serious, sort of journalistic. We kind of like to get in the mix in between the people's insiders, knowing a couple people around the league and being a little more fun and news-wise. So that being said, we wanted to establish ourselves a little bit, and then we'll get some guests on.
Yeah, we'll have a couple of fun folks on the show. We hope you guys enjoy it. No, it's not John Buccigross.
I could see what Bucci's up to.
All right, we could see what, if you guys want Bucci on, if there's enough pent-up demand to have Chicken Parm on the show, we will, Chicken Parm's Ray Ferraro, but if we get the Chicken Parm Raider, John Buccigross, on the show, we could see if we can make that work. But yeah, we'll have some fun here on the show. Glad you guys are enjoying it. I know, at least for my, not to get all sentimental on Brett here live on the air, but for at least my sake, right? Like doing a podcast or something I've always wanted to do. And, on this very show, Trade Melt Live last season, right after the expansion draft.
Dude, when was that? Like July?
Yeah, it was right after it was late June. It was right after the expansion draft. Right after Seattle got picked. It was the next day. The trade freeze melted. We did that. Then we did free agency live, and could not be happier and prouder to say I have a great co-host in Brett, and we're going to continue to build on this thing for you guys. Cold Stove, we're going to bring it all the way. We're going to hit the top of the charts before you guys know it. So we can't do that without your support, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, I totally agree, buddy. And I think we got a pretty good thing going here. But obviously, that doesn't happen without the people in the comments. We have best listeners in hockey. I'll go out on a limb. Love interacting with them every time we make fun of the Islanders or the Sabres or you name it.
Yeah, listen. Any questions, memes, tweets, jokes, whatever you guys want to send our way, we appreciate that. Think in the near future, we're going to continue to grow out the Cold Stove brand here. Like you said, we're not Curfew, we're not Chicklets, we're also not 32 Thoughts. We're going to bring you the news. We're going to have a little fun with it. Shouts to the New Jersey Devil in the comments. The New Jersey Devil himself is here. What's going on there in Newark, New Jersey there, Devil? You got anything for us?
He says, hello, friend. Hello, New Jersey Devil 00. This one's an interesting one. At Mary shouts, do you see the next CBA closing some of the cap circumvention that occurs with long-term IR? The answer is absolutely. Now, problem being, there's going to be some fighters on that end because it helps teams, but it will certainly be a discussion point, much like the Jack Eichel situation where teams kind of snuck into having full control over a player's medical choices, more or less. There'll be a discussion about that too, along with salary cap stuff. There'll be pandemic insurance for whatever the next CBA is. There's going to be a lot to discuss, yes. And that is certainly one of them. I know teams are unhappy with the LTIR thing and how it is currently, but some teams have used it to an advantage. So if you're Tampa Bay, you probably say, let's keep it. But I don't think that's going to be just glossed over in the next CBA negotiation, NRD.
Yeah, no, I think one thing I want to address, and apparently I was wrong. I think we've all been duped here. I think the big guys, we've all been duped. I think it came out after the fact. There was a hot internet rumor that Tampa Bay was one of the teams that voted last time to close that cap circumvention loophole. And they're just, they're like, we warned you. We tried to close it. And now we're just, doing what we warned you about. I don't think that's true. So I think the more and more I've looked into that rumor, I don't know if we know for sure that Tampa Bay proposed a closure to that loophole the first go around. But surely there'll be some teams doing it this go around. Special shout out in the comments to looks like Sean in the comments said, I remember tuning into the first trade melt walking around Key West sweating bullets with the phone up to my ear. So he's an OG. So we really appreciate you, Sean, man.
He's been around
since the reason why we're here.
Since before the before the show was even a thing. It was just a glimmer in the eyes of washed media, myself and NRD. Yeah, this is the update, by the way. Brett Kulak going for a second-round pick. So Kevin Adams over there in Buffalo with his Colin Miller has to be getting better by the second. It went from a third. Kulak gets a second. I could see a second or a first for Colin Miller or some sort of deal there in the next couple hours here.
My favorite thing is that the biggest trade today happened in the NFL.
What happened?
Matt Ryan is heading to the Indianapolis Colts, it appears.
Oh, okay.
So good on the NFL for just stealing our thunder. Today was supposed to be our day. It is now the NFL's day with Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts, if that is your sort of thing.
Yeah, once your team literally invites another guy in and says, "Hey, we're going to talk to Deshaun Watson over you," I would probably leave as well. Yeah, NFL rumors daily. I like that, NRD.
There you go.
Hey, keep the moniker too.
NRD works, right? NHL, NFL, I can keep it, but no, we're sticking to hockey for now. I think we'll just we'll stick to what we're good at, right?
Sure.
But
we have a real live Nikita Gusev in the chat. No chance Severson gets moved at this point. I'm not going to say no chance. I think they'd like him a lot, though.
Yeah, but and I don't want to actually, it's the first time we're going to go back and forth on this live show that we're not in lockstep agreement. Okay. I think you have to consider it with what Hampus Lindholm brought in.
Of course. What all these defensemen are bringing in.
You have to consider it. I think every team with a middle four with a second pairing defenseman around the age of 25 through 30 years old has to listen, because if you could bring in a first plus, then build your team. There's the devil says 0% chance. Okay. Nothing's happening with Severson. Forget what I said. He disagrees with me. By the way, I know you asked when are you coming through to the Proof Center, Devil. NRD will be there sooner than later. Maybe we'll have a little meet and greet. Maybe when Brett's in town. Maybe when Brett comes back to the Eastern Seaboard, we'll do a Cold Stove live from the Proof Center if the Devil wants to get involved.
Featuring the New Jersey Devil himself. Yeah. Let's see. I got some good stuff here. How about the Calder Trophy race, NRD? Where are you putting your money right now?
Lucas Raymond.
He is currently I think he's the second money line favorite, right?
Yeah, I like what he's done.
And is number one currently.
I like what he's done on a team that is not really competing at any point. So Nashville's had their stretch where they were in the mix of things, and that's obviously I'm talking about Tanner Jeannot there in Nashville, who, by the way, love how he plays the game. I mean, the guy leads the team in fighting minutes, leads the league in fighting minutes, and leads the rookie goal scoring charts. So guy's a hard-nosed player like him, but I think you have to give it to Lucas Raymond. Extremely exciting what Stevie Y is building, right? Guy that is very quiet. We don't know what he's up to at all times, but extremely exciting stuff.
All right, let's see. What do you think about what Boldy has done in Minnesota? I like Matt Boldy a lot. He's a Boston College kid. I've seen play a little bit. I think he'll get more shine as he grows into himself. But I like the player, NRD.
I do too. I think he's done. He scored his first career goal in the TD Garden, which I thought was really, really cool with his family on board for that one. Exciting guy. One of those names that when we go back and talk about what would have came back in the Jack Eichel trade, probably would have been a Buffalo Sabre if Jack Eichel ended up in Minnesota. So I think you would have been very excited to see him there. And not to say that you're not excited about Peyton Krebs, but Matt Boldy could have, would have, should have been a Buffalo Sabre.
No, it certainly was probably going to be the case, if not a Dumbo situation there as well. After the fact, though, I really heard post trade that it wasn't as close as maybe we thought with Minnesota. I know there was talks, but yeah, it sounded like Minnesota just couldn't get close really to what Vegas could get to. And
I think
what Calgary apparently offered at
which
the 11th hour.
You want to talk about that report and the reportee of that. Kevin Weeks is on one right now. He is in one. Love seeing his videos. How great is that? What he's doing right now, crushing the deadline. All shouts to Weeksy. He's such a great guy to chat with. I touch base with him every once in a while. Completely awesome dude. And all my love and support that way for him. He is absolutely crushing it. As
I love the videos that Weeksy doing right now.
The videos are great. Like, where is he going to pop up next? I think that's the most exciting thing. It looked like he was in the bowels of Bristol, Connecticut this morning. He was in like the control room this afternoon. I'm excited for the next one, where he ends up. I want to see him like on the lounge chair in the pool, right? Like he's throwing back a Mai Tai or something like that, and he's just breaking scoops, because that's what Weeksy does, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Weeksy Mai Tais. I know all the big insider guys. Tonight is the red wine Monday for them, so they put a lot of work in the last couple of weeks here.
Listen, that's not to pat myself on the back, but we're gonna be here on the Cold Stove Pod, right? This is not the end of me. This is not the end of us, right? We're just getting started. We got tons of stuff coming up for you guys, content-wise, going into the playoffs and throughout the offseason. There is no cottage for me to go to, partially because Bettman's kept me locked underneath his desk for so goddamn long. I haven't seen sunlight in years, so I'm not going to the cottage. I got nowhere to go. So you just got me for however long you guys need me on the Cold Stove Pod.
Oh man! Ooh, can you hear the wind ripping up over here, NRD?
It is getting testy there in Texas.
It is. I think the weather's not supposed to come in until later on, but yeah, like the NRD behind a waterfall just so we don't see his face. I think that's how we're gonna do it. If we ever do the NRD Bat Cave reveal, it's gonna be the Rumor Cave. His offsite location. One's Bettman's house, and the other is the cave.
I will say this, and I'm going to spring this on Brett live here. There were thoughts of showing up in like an old Jerry Cheevers goalie mask on air today. I nixed that at the last second, but
that would have been great.
There were thoughts of that happening. I think maybe we'll have a little fun with it in the offseason, right? Like, NRD, with this account and what I've been able to do over the past, 10 years now almost, which is crazy to say, has been so exciting. But as we continue to grow here with this pod and whatnot, definitely want more chances to connect with you guys, the fans, a lot more. And like I've always said, content should always be king, right? You guys are all here because you love and support what I've been able to do, what Brett and I are doing out the Cold Stove Pod. Shouldn't matter what the hell I look like, sound like, talk like, but if that's what's interesting to you guys, then maybe we'll go down that road sooner than later.
There you go. We'll see. This one I did see as well. Talking in Columbus, some verified reporters that Carolina is in on Domi and might even be getting close. NRD mentioned this week and last week that keep an eye out on Carolina. They're quiet and they might make a big move. I think that would be considered a big move. NRD, did you see something like that coming for them?
For
Domi.
For Domi with Carolina, not particularly, but then again, Carolina's been active, right? Like just minutes ago, and if you guys are just stopping in here on the Cold Stuff Pod, I'll reiterate what I said about Andrew Kopp, being that the Rangers, Colorado Avalanche, and the Boston Bruins are kind of the three finalists for Kopp right now, barring anything unforeseen. Maybe that is a Carolina getting in the mix just because they don't want to lose out to some other contenders here. But Carolina's been active. I think they're working the phones, Don Waddle and co. I mentioned them as a really dark horse team for Jacob Chychrun, heading out. I think it was our second to last episode before today. Mentioned them as a dark horse. I would just keep my eye on it. I think it's, if it's 3 first-rounders plus a value, then maybe it's not something they want to do at this time. But is Seth Jarvis in a first or something good enough to bring Chychrun to Carolina? I just keep my eye on it. I don't think that happens today, but good things coming for Carolina, especially with the fact that they're just crushing the Eastern Conference this year. I don't think anybody competes with them yet at this point to me.
Got a reporter for the Canucks and the Vancouver Sun. That's Patrick Johnson saying, believe Florida is after both Kopp and Nick Leddy.
There you
So
go.
throwing that one, frankly I haven't heard that, but I'll tell you what, we report everything that we see. So want to get that out there.
Yeah, there you go. Question from Corey Latendre. Do you think there's any chance that a team, New York Rangers, Colorado Avalanche, steps up for JT Miller? I think that there's a large asking price on JT Miller. Why would they move him right now? I've been saying this for a long time now. He's their best forward. They're in the thick of things. Bruce Boudreau really likes him. The kid has matured, and they're in no rush to move him unless the team wants to give him more than what Claude Giroux brought in. That's for sure.
Really hoping Drury gets copped. I don't really see that in New York. Do you, NRD?
From what I know right now, obviously they're one of the finalists. By the way, good shout on Cagliano, because Bobby Margaritas just put out there that Cagliano in San Jose is a veteran that could be moved today. Colorado, New York Rangers believed to be among the most interested.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, so we talked about him a little bit ago. That was a Brett Bottle rocket, and looks like it might be coming to fruition sooner than later.
No,
About Drury,
that's a Merriman makes sense.
that's a Merriman makes sense. There you go. Really hoping Drury gets copped. That was the comment. You said you don't see it. From what I know right now, they're not the favorite. I think their offer is hovering around a collection of a second-round pick and something else, something not as great, but I think it centers around a second-round pick for Copp right now. I think it's a little sweeter for what Colorado's given up. Like I said, Kevin Cheveldayoff still holding out for that first-round pick at this point. I think if the Rangers step up and give him a first, he's a New York Ranger. I think if not, he's Colorado Avalanche by the end of the day.
Oh, that's David Pagnotta saying that Sharks are evaluating trade options for James Reimer. Obviously, that's because Cagliano is now a San Jose Shark. So I think that also makes sense. We might have even mentioned him earlier in this show, but goalie market, sort of cool because there's not exactly somebody after Fleury who's a clear cut. Like if Georgiev's not going to move, if Varlamov maybe moves, Holtby kind of quiet. So people are pretty locked in goalie wise. Maybe Craig Anderson and Reimer are the two fish at that point.
Yeah. By the way, shouts to Ben Pope of the Chicago Sun-Times. Ryan Carpenter on his way to the Nashville Predators.
And William Lagesson from Edmonton to Montreal.
So there you go. Montreal is, interestingly enough, sending Kulak to Edmonton, closing off that deal, and then picking up the phone again and getting Lagesson. So there you go.
Yeah, and hey, we kind of multiple reports now on Domi and Carolina. So
yeah, that is a thing. Shouts to Sarah Sivian of The Athletic, says that Brendan Moore was late to talk to the media. So potentially a fit there. Nothing's the end all be all. I think one of the most interesting things this time of year and in the off season and whatnot, and I preach it, and it truly isn't a hedge to say, oh, everything I say has got to be right or anything anybody else says. Really fluidity, right? These things constantly are evolving, right? A GM picks up a phone, gives an offer, something changes, another team drops out, another team hops in. So fluidity this time of year is extremely important to understand. And Carolina is the hot name with Max Domi right now.
There we go. Things can, and by the way, things can change quickly on that front if somebody's going. But how do I say this? If somebody's going harder after a guy like Domi, that can spur some action from guys that maybe have been involved and haven't been able to get the job done. So let's see. Somebody said, who are the best trade targets left? And Ricard Raquel is sort of my guy, same with Arturi Lehkonen. And you know what? I'll say Colin Miller and RD. Who are your trade targets that you're waiting for this afternoon?
Lehkonen. He's my favorite guy. If you're going to acquire anybody right now, I think it's Lehkonen. Oh, sorry, I'm laughing at the Devils comment, but the goal light over your left shoulder, I believe the camera mirrors itself.
Really?
I think there's a fan going in the background in that back room there, and it looks like a goal light. Yep, there you go. The goal light's going off in Brett's cave.
That's funny. That's funny.
It is a good
shout. Reflection.
Yeah, Arturi Lehkonen's my absolute favorite. I don't disagree with your point that I think the team that steps up and acquires him has a great shot at the Stanley Cup. By the way, Lagesson is part of that Brett Kulak trade.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So that kind of that man. So Kulak to Edmonton, Lagesson, and a second. Oh, somebody said Mark Spector said helping to make the cap space work. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because I was like, whoa, wait a second. The Sens, how about this, have acquired forward Zach Senyshyn and a 5th-round draft pick in exchange for defenseman Josh Braun and a conditional 7th in 2022. That's a Sens and Bruins trade.
Death, taxes, Don Sweeney acquiring a defenseman at the deadline, a third pairing defenseman.
Shouts to
Can't beat it. Did it last year. Did it again this year. Did it the year before that. Don Sweeney, man, loves his defenseman.
And you know what? I liked Senyshyn to Ottawa as well. I think that's we talk about fresh starts a lot. I think that's a much needed fresh start for him.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I'm working some things right now, folks.
I am too. I am too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to our folks. It would appear that lunch is over. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Teams are getting back down to business. You know what? You know what would be so great, right? Like, I think what baseball does really well at the winter meetings is having all the GMs in one spot and all the agents, and they're all just like at the Westin somewhere in Boca, just chatting trades and chatting signings. I think we just need to put all 32 guys in a room, all 32 GMs in a room for the deadline. I think you'd breed the most, or at least like set them up at the free buffet at the MGM Grand and just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean,
put a camera in
what
there.
they do at the
entertaining.
That's pretty much what they do at the draft, right?
Yeah, but I think it'd be a lot of fun if we could get them in an even tighter space for the deadline. Just put them in a small room so everybody hears the deals that are going on. Silent auction, if you will.
Silent auction. All right. NRD, I'll be right. I'm going to use the men's room real quick. If you wouldn't mind taking some questions, I'll be right back.
I will take some questions. I can't do the fancy thing that Brett does by putting them up on the screen.
You can read them.
But I can read them though. So if you want to send in some questions, I'll hit some of your questions right now. We'll start now. So as they come in. Yeah, Brett's live on a Monday during lunchtime. The things he does for this sport, man. Appreciate Brett. Can't say enough great things about him, Tony, about it as a co-host. So he's A1. Garland of Boston or where else? Again, I still think Don Sweeney's working that on Boston. With Connor Garland in Boston, I should say. The DeBrusk signing, I don't think it leads credence to he will or won't be moved. I think he deserved another contract in Boston. I tweeted that earlier today. It makes it a lot more appealing to move that deal. But I think that he's the type of candidate that if Don Sweeney can't broker a deal for a Connor Garland or a JT Miller or an Andrew Cobb ahead of today's deadline, says, hey, shut up, keep your head down, keep playing well, and we will get you somewhere else in the offseason, similar to what, Emily Kaplan reported about Alexander Georgiev. Can't find any options for you right now. Just keep doing your thing, and we will find and accommodate you in the offseason. So that is it on Garland and the Bees, at least what I have to this minute. What else we got here? Cal Clutterbuck in all caps. Yeah, Clutterbuck's the type of guy that provides depth to your lineup. I think that there's a lot of talk about Joe Sakic potentially being in on Clutter. We got something from Emily Kaplan just came through. Anaheim Ducks still shopping offers on Rickard Rakell. Can report that Boston and Vegas are in advanced talks. Believe the Rangers were involved at one point. Not sure if they're still in it. I think the Rangers are really reluctant.
All right, NRD. Power hour time.
This is not good.
Let's go Blue Streaks.
There you go. We were just talking about Emily Kaplan tweeting out that Boston and Vegas are in advanced talks on Rickard Rakell. I believe the Rangers were involved at one point. Not sure if they still are. I think that the New York Rangers, in addition to making a couple of depth moves right here, right now, their thing is that they are reluctant to give up that first round pick, as they're saving it maybe for something bigger to materialize towards the end of the day. I think that if they ask on like a Cop or Raquel as a first plus, I think, if they're there come 2:55 p.m. East Coast, like maybe Drury gives the first at that point. I think he's holding it as long as he can to see what else comes to fruition throughout the day. So there's your answer on Raquel. Brett's back. I know that was short taking your guys' questions. Raquel's one of those names. We mentioned her earlier on the show. I know it's live, so we can't go back and pull receipt season. I know it's you guys' favorite thing that I do that, but Raquel, Bruins, Rangers, two of those teams that were in competition for him. According to Emily Kaplan, it looks like the Bruins are in the mix while the Rangers are fading there. Brett, you are the host. I give it back to you.
Oh man, let's see. Yeah, pretty interesting. This is talked around Suman trade non-existent. His contract is crazy. What are you going to get from NRD? How much weed is Stevie Y's intern currently out buying him for tonight? Once this is all over, maybe I won't say weed, but there's certainly some red wine being bought, not just for Stevie Y, for a whole bunch of people. Pavel Zacha, it's been quiet on him today. I'd heard more about him last week than anything. Maybe that means the Devils want to keep him. He's obviously a good player, but we'll see right there. Anything on Zacha, NRD?
Nothing at this moment in time. I really think that the Brock Besser stuff was smoke for Zacha. I didn't understand why that made sense for Vancouver, and it appears that it doesn't. I still look at teams that are selectively buying despite not contending, i.e. the Buffalo Sabres, i.e. the Chicago Blackhawks, i.e. the Columbus Blue Jackets on a guy like Zacha.
Yeah, and look out that I keep saying this. Buffalo's is quiet right now, like very, very quiet. And I really, really think that they're in a bidding war at this point. If something has been done, like for example, Robert Hagg, that price was so constant across the board that they said, okay, let it rip. But they have too many guys like Colin Miller and Vinny Hinostroza and Craig Anderson that are going to go, that they're still setting up best deal situations, which if you're a Sabres fan is a good sign. You want those to go to the deadline because that means there's more than one party involved. If there's one party involved, the price is set, you can haggle, negotiate. It's going to end up around the same. This means that they're saying, hey, Florida's offering this. Hey, Carolina's offering this, and they're going around the table here. So Evan says the only bidding war that should be going on in Buffalo's ownership of the team. Totally agree. Obligatory. NRD. We can't go an episode without saying the Pagulas are incompetent. So let me get that out of the way here.
Yeah, go for it. Good to know that Tom Fitzgerald is awake. We've confirmed in the chat. Fitzgerald's awake.
The New Jersey Devil went and took a look.
Checked on him. He is awake. Doesn't mean he's doing anything, but he's awake.
Good to know. Good to know.
I like this question from Michael Maravillegas, if I pronounced that right.
Maravillegas. Is that Michael? Is that Greek?
Probably. Which series would be more bloody, Panthers Lightning or the Battle of Alberta? I feel like the Alberta battle has gone cold as of late. The Flames have been really good. The Oilers have been struggling. I don't think they have that fire that they did last year, at least with the Kachuk and Cassian stuff. I don't think that's existent right now. I would probably say Panthers, Tampa Bay. I think those teams are going to kick the shit out of each other. I think that if you're a team, right now it appears that those teams will not. Actually, they will because they're in the same division. At least at one point, they'll have to meet in the playoffs before the conference finals, if I'm not mistaken, if the way the bracket works out. And if that's the case, I think I'd be licking my chops to get the winner of that series because they're going to be black and blue and bruised and bleeding and tired at the end of that series. So something to look out for if you're a team that's going to the conference finals competing against the winner of that matchup.
Yeah, I think I've said this a couple times on here and other platforms. If you want to get into hockey, if you want somebody to see a hockey game for the first time, go watch Game 1 of the Florida Panthers Tampa Bay Lightning series from last year. One of the best hockey games of all time.
Don't disagree.
Let's see.
Sorry,
Fletcher
paying the
go
bills.
back to bed after the Justin Braun trade? Potentially. Isles news now. You're not going to get any because of their GM, unfortunately. Are we sure Kevin Adams is awake? Yes, I know he's awake, but I think that's a good thing that we're not exactly hearing anything yet. And RD, anything? What do you got on your end right here, right now?
Good question from Kelsey. That's kind of what I was about to say. I've been keeping tabs on the Rangers throughout the day as much as I could. Chris Scher is one of those guys who likes to keep things Fort Knox, if you will, in the Rangers front office. I think that just from what I know from outside the organization about guys that they've been looking into, with the Raquel news now that they might be out of it, with what I heard out of Winnipeg about Andrew Kopp, I think Chris Scher is holding on to that first round pick for something. Maybe, this is a lot of smoke and he just wants to keep the first round pick because he wants a first round pick in this draft class. But I think he's holding it for now. As we get closer to the end of the day, who's to say that, a name that wasn't available 10 minutes ago is now available and he needs that first round pick? I don't think he's at this point willing to give it up for a guy like a Raquel or a Kopp. I think he's saving that for when the time comes. If one of those two guys are still available at 2:30 and now he's pressed to make a deal, then I could see that in play. Right now, I think Chris Drury's content for waiting out this last hour and seeing what happens. I don't think he's done by any means, though. I don't think he's done. Or at least, maybe no moves come to fruition, but I know for a fact he's working the phones.
We have noted dinosaur Paul Hamilton saying, I'm hearing that Kevin Adams has not gotten an offer for Colin Miller that he can live with. There's still a little over an hour to get something done. We'll see. We'll see. I think that's a better.
Well, there's St. Louis's defenseman. Shouts to Weeksy. Nick Leddy to the St. Louis Blues. Did I say Seattle? I meant St. Louis.
Yeah. Okay.
St. Louis Blues.
I like that. I think that's kind of in line with what we were saying there with Leddy earlier on.
Absolutely, and I think you extend him he's got a lot to give to a lineup still. I think, I had said earlier on the show that I think he makes a lot of sense in Detroit. Stevie Y likes him. Clearly, he's got a lot of respect for him because he didn't send him too far away from where he built base over the last couple of years in Detroit. Great player. I think he could provide a lot. I think he's good enough for another 2-year extension of St. Louis if they can afford to do it. Yeah, and I think they can. They obviously they have Tarasenko, but I think they can do it cap-wise, and we'll see there. I would have loved to see him as a Buffalo Sabre, to be honest with you. Some smoke on Artturi Lehkonen.
What do we got?
Allegedly, the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see.
Well, guess what? If they, Weech reports we're looking into Colorado for Justin Barron in a second.
So, to my knowledge, that appears to be what the package would have been for Andrew Kopp. I mentioned a second and a prospect.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Which I think puts the Rangers back in the mix on Kopp. I think it puts the Bruins back in the mix on Kopp as well. If that's legit, I heard some smoke about Artturi Lehkonen in Colorado as well. But we'll wait to see. It's fake tweet season. We'll see.
It is fake tweet season. Some not smoke of my own. My latest text message says nothing on Anderson as of right now in Buffalo. Okay. I'm not going to tweet that, but nothing on Craig Anderson as of right this second.
Yeah, it appears Lehkonen is going to Colorado. And if it is Justin Barron in a second, that is the package that I had heard and been told for Andrew Kopp. So it means Colorado's probably moving on from Kopp for right now. Looks like the other two teams in the mix, the New York Rangers, Boston Bruins, competing over Kopp. We talked about, potentially the Rangers being out on Raquel. Is this them now pivoting to being in the driver's seat on Andrew Kopp? It's something to look for. I think we're at the time of day where it's domino season. I think dominoes are beginning to fall. The same three teams, the Colorado Avalanche, the New York Rangers, the Boston Bruins, all looking after the same guys, the same rentals. And is Colorado your pick now to win the Stanley Cup?
Of course. Absolutely. I mean, not that they weren't beforehand. Maybe they weren't the number one, but if a Colorado team with Artturi Lehkonen on it, I like what they're doing there. I like Justin Barron too, though. So that's not, that's sort of a win for a lot of teams involved there.
It's a win for both teams. Sorry, I'm getting a tweet out as well.
Flyers working on Martin Jones, NRD.
Working on Martin Jones' deal?
Working on options for Martin Jones. Believe he is up in the air. Yeah,
I think that there's been some good Flyers reporters out there that shared that if they move on from him, that means that I forgot his name, but the starting goaltender, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Would have to play some big minutes with the big club, and you're hurting their chances at a run for the Calder Cup, in which they are competing for right now. So it might be in their best interest to keep Martin Jones around.
Yeah, Andrew Peters tweeting that Sabres aren't exactly getting the calls that they are hoping for. So that's sort of the worst case scenario, and one that I didn't mention before. But one scenario is if they're not making deals, there is a bidding war, and then prices are going up. The other scenario is that no, their assets stink, and they're certainly just not getting prices. So if that's the case, then it's a worst case scenario in Buffalo. One hour NRD, 1 hour until the trade deadline hits in the NHL. I am Brett Merriman at Schmerriman on Twitter. That's NRD at NHL Rumors Daily on Twitter. A pretty good flurry in the last, pun intended, in the last 10 minutes or so. NRD, we have Sinishin to the Senators for Josh Braun. We have Brett Kulak to the Oilers from William Lagesson and a second-round pick. We have Arturi Lehkonen, my favorite name of the trade deadline, going to Colorado for Justin Barron in a second. We have Nick Leddy to the St. Louis Blues, which sucks for Buffalo because I really thought Colin Miller was going to go to the Blues. So here we go. Oscar Sundquist and Jake Wellman are also part of the Leddy deal. We got some lunch is over, NRD. Lunch is over.
Yeah, shouts to Rush Joy with the Snow the Goalie podcast just tweeted, with Nick Leddy of St. Louis, it appears that Provorov and Sanheim are staying put. I think that all but confirms what I had been saying, what they had been saying over there, that St. Louis was the one team really hot after Provorov and Sanheim today. And them being out now appears that they are not going to be dealt at all, barring anything unforeseen here in the last hour.
Man. Whew.
You having fun, Brett? I know this is
fun.
big for you, right? Like, I felt bad trying to get you on board to do this right after your vacation there, but
NRD, I wouldn't have missed it. Also, waiver claims hitting right now. Arizona claims Harry Sateri.
So there you go. Toronto signs the goaltender, and he ends up in Arizona. Shouts to the New York Islanders. I think they pulled this shit on Evgeny Nabokov when he signed with the Red Wings, or vice versa, maybe like 10 years ago or so. So
Seattle has claimed Derek Pouliot. Martin Jones is on the move officially. Peter Marazzic has cleared waivers, which is wild that the Sabres didn't do that. Oh my gosh. Evgeny Dadonov, Nick Alberta saying to the Ducks. Whew. Blake Lizotte has signed a 2-year extension at 1.65 in LA. Golly.
Just drawing straws here. Evgeny Dadonov is a Vegas Golden Knight, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes.
And they're in on Ricard Raquel, so let's keep an eye on that for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like I need a reset. NRD. I'm just, whew.
I am going to grab a water. Brett is going to be with you guys for like 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Brett, hold the fort down.
Yeah, so the Leafs, what their whole plan was to sign Sateri. He had to be involved with the Leafs going forward. There basically was going to waive Marazzic to have Sateri be the guy in Toronto to help the goalie situation there. Obviously, Sateri gets signed and Peter Marazzic clears waivers, so the Leafs are in kind of a funny mode. I have to agree with this. Austin Dubas is blacklisted of the Coyotes. Yeah, Kyle Dubas is not thrilled with the Coyotes at this point. Oh my gosh. If you're the GM of the Wild, who are you guys targeting? Bottom 6 depth help and cap space is what I'm targeting. Larkin has just been pulled off practice due to maintenance. Hopefully he's not injured. I cannot see Steve Yzerman moving Dylan Larkin today, nor soon. Martin Jones moved. I believe the return is still up in the air. Like we said, just if you're joining us right this second, Arturi Lehkonen going to the Avalanche. That's my favorite trade so far. That there's that makes the Avalanche even better in my mind as far as their their cup chances go. Just a lot of things happen. I got storms around me outside. We're supposed to get some crazy weather today in Austin. Potential tornadoes and whatnot. Well, Stevie Bonribs moved Bertuzzi. Maybe I heard that name too out there. I haven't heard any smoke today. Man, the Avs are a force now. Have to agree with that. That's some clarity, I guess, on the Larkin thing. Took the day off. Fine. I didn't see them moving anyway. What did the Vegas Golden Knights do with the space they have? It's all paper space. They don't have a lot of space. I can't imagine moving anybody besides Dadonov. Whoo! Guys, thank you for joining us here on the Cold Stove Trade Melt. This was originally named after the trade freeze when that was in place, and basically saying that trades were allowed to commence again. Man, we're a couple fun minutes here. Any word on the Stars making any more moves? I don't see it. If anything, they'll buy some depth forwards, but I don't think it's going to be big. Maybe they might be in on a Colin Miller in Buffalo, actually. Let's see. Nothing on. I'm cold on Anderson stuff right now. We'll see. We shall see. By the way, the return for Arturi Lehkonen is a Justin Barron, defenseman, and a 2024 second-round pick. My goodness. So we're really getting kind of far out. You don't really see the NHL doing trades that are 2 years in advance now. That's a lot of the time you see that in the NBA. Same with kind of sign-in trades that we've seen this year, which is interesting. Let's see.
We got some stuff. I am back.
Okay.
So it looks like Vegas is in fact moving Evgeny Dadonov on somewhere else. If Nick Albergia, shouts to him, if he's correct on his intuition that the Anaheim Ducks are looking at him, and the Vegas Golden Knights are in on Rickard Rakell, perhaps a natural fit there. The Coyotes are working on a trade for Harry Satiri, so they are allowed to do it.
Yeah,
apparently.
That's weird. It's right after, right?
They are allowed to apparently do it, and if that is the case, I just got a DM that said, "Excellent asset management by Bill Armstrong in that front office."
Yeah, because they had a plan. They knew what they were doing, and it feels like there's GMs that have plan A and then nothing else, and there's GMs that have plan A, plan B, plan C. And say what you want about the Coyotes team, I think there's clearly plans in place for what they want to do. So give them credit there. I also saw a report that Riley Smith has been traded. I'm going to wait for a second. Form of confirmation before I want to run with that further. But wanted to say that just came across the timeline.
Keep an eye on that. Paul Chaunt in the comments. The Bruins just sent down 3 players, including one of
Studnicka, right?
Studnicka. Not sure what that means for anything. I will say this: players have to be on an AHL roster by 5 p.m. today or 3 p.m. today to be eligible for the AHL playoffs. So he's young enough that he can slide through and then come back up later on post deadline. So, things tend to get a little hyped up this time of year. And by the way, Austin, don't mean to cut you off, Paul, on your question, but just think that keep an eye on that more than anything else. I think, clear some cap, but got to be on that roster to be eligible for the AHL playoffs. Austin says Satiri got claimed. What do you mean trade? They can flip him, and I wonder if that's what Bill Armstrong is working on right now.
Can you imagine if they trade him to Toronto?
How great would that be?
That would be ridiculous. By the way, the return from Nick Leddy is huge. And so if Colin Miller doesn't get NRD, I'm freaking Sundqvist, Wallman, and a second.
Clearly he was desperate for a defenseman.
My goodness, man. Okay. That's Jesus. All right, we have 51 minutes left. 51 minutes left in before the trade deadline officially hits. We'll probably stay probably on for another 5 or 10 minutes at NRD after, because stuff gets done literally.
As long as the calls are into Central Registry by 3 p.m., they that deals can go through and be announced after the fact. We'll hang with you for a couple minutes after that, and we will we'll keep it going here. We got, like you said, 50 minutes left. Having a lot of fun. We'll still take your questions throughout the day. I think you guys know, or at least those who have been in here since the get-go, I think you know where things stand right now. We're going to keep talking about this. We'll share some scoops of our own. We'll break down some of the trades. We'll take some of your questions. Just having a good time. We appreciate you all choosing us. There's a lot of options out there. We appreciate
having
you
a
guys
great
choosing
time.
us.
That being said, we have another trade report. NRD. Elliot Friedman saying Johan Larsson, former Buffalo Sabre, has been traded to the Washington Capitals.
And I don't believe he's on a big contract, correct?
No, he's on a very manageable contract, and I was pissed that he didn't re-sign in Buffalo. But then again, Buffalo's going to have to pay guys extra for them to be there. So,
and Washington's close against the cap. I mean, they have less than 100.
Larson's hurt right now.
Okay, so you could stash him, because I was going to say, like, they're so close on the cap right now that they can either take guys on the injured reserve to stash for the playoffs, or they have to go money in, money out. Michael Kempney, they can't afford to, acquire contracts straight up anymore.
And if you're a numbers guy, which a lot of our fans are, a lot of people on Twitter are, analytics-wise, Johan Larsson, one of the best defensive forwards in the league, especially during his time in Buffalo. So yeah, it's Johan Larsson season, baby. He's got a hernia right now, so he'll be back. I think for the playoffs. I'm not sure what the timing looks like on that, but he'll be back for the playoffs for most of them for Washington, which I really like. By the way, Montreal is going to retain 50% of Artturi Lehkonen's salary.
Even better for the Colorado Avalanche, who could afford that. I believe they could afford that hit. So great deal for Joe Sakic. Talk about a guy that's patient. He outweighted, Chuck Fletcher on Claude Giroux. He sends the meat of the Claude Giroux package for Artturi Lehkonen.
And I'll tell you what. I mean, that's just a good deal. That's just a good deal. And I know I like Justin Barron a lot, but I like that trade a lot too.
Question here.
This guy, I agree. Wow.
Hockey bet odds, Chuck Fletcher still having a job come July 1st, -110.
Ooh.
I don't think him getting fired is a favorite at this point. I think they keep him.
Okay.
Clearly he's got his,
It's not a big time money line. It's not -600 by any means.
No, it's close, but he's got his claws deep enough into this roster right now and that front office. With Danny Bria there as a protege of his, I don't see them making that move right now. But then again, I could be wrong. Been wrong before. So it's great for the brand, I know. But I've been wrong before. We'll see.
We are, 47 minutes away, NRD, from the trade deadline. Nick Leddy gets a big return. Artturi Lehkonen gets a big return and retained salary. My gosh, the Bruins and Senators and Oilers and Canadians especially have been busy. A team that has not been busy are the Buffalo Sabres, but that's okay.
By the way,
I'm literally trying not to panic on this live stream with you, NRD. I'm trying not to panic. I'm trying to keep my composure.
By the way,
by the second, I'm gonna. You know what, NRD? It's buckle up season.
Oh, he's buckling up the helmet.
It's buckle up season.
Marazzic, I think I'm pronouncing this right. Does great work covering the Jets for The Athletic. Just tweeted out, I suspect the Jets' focus on Andrew Kopp now is the New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins, not to be ruled out either. So there you go. If you guys wanted an NRD bomb today in this chat, I think that's where things are headed with Copper right now in Winnipeg.
Ooh, can you repeat that for me real quick, NRD?
Yeah, so it looks like, I mean, if everybody in the chat's been looking for an NRD bomb or something exclusive out of this, Marazzic of The Athletic just said that looks like the Jets' focus for Andrew Kopp is now the New York Rangers and or the Boston Bruins. Shouldn't rule them out either. So, as I said at the jump, Colorado, New York Rangers, Boston, the final three on Kopp. It looks like that is the case now, in fact.
Here we go. Oh man.
You know what? I keep shouting him out. He is the best. Shouts to the New Jersey Devil. How great is that? Love that you're in here with us. Couldn't have the best mascot in the league. I said it. You can tell Gritty I said that too. I don't
Ooh,
see
okay.
Gritty's ass in here, so shouts to the Devil. Shout at the Devil. How about that? It's a great song.
Great song. Look at that. Well, it's you now. You sound like Merrick with your classic rock pulls. Okay.
Justin Braun said on the TSN show that the Rangers still haven't called him about their trade for him because they're still busy making other trades. So
See, that's interesting because he's now a New York Rangers. So you'd think that that happens. Is the Dadonov trade done?
not done yet.
Okay.
Sent out some text. If you ever want to get a chance to see who I know in the Vegas organization, just go look at who follows me.
By the way, Bobby Marge tweeting that Cagliano to Colorado is done.
So there you go. So they retained 50%. There's their other move. I think, yeah, that kind of killed the Andrew Kopp thing, and they are moving on for depth somewhere else. I don't think Cagliano's a name. Don't get me wrong. I think he provide a lot. We talked about this at the beginning of the show, but I don't think he's like a world beater at this point. I think he's more depth than anything else.
Yeah, no, that's an absolute guy in the locker room for the playoffs. No more, no less. By the way, the return on Johan Larsson, 2023 third-round pick from Washington, and the Coyotes will retain 50%. A great deal right there for Washington. He's going to get along with the guys in the locker room too. He's a good, great guy who plays very, very hard, plays very heavy hockey, and I know they already have a couple of guys on that team that do so. Not that anybody needs protecting when they have Tom Wilson on that team, but Johan Larsson will help on that front. Good forechecker.
Yep. And there you go. Mark Diver, big into the Boston Bruins scene and the prospect scene, says on paper, Boston returns those guys, including Jack Studnicka to Providence, makes them eligible for the AHL playoffs. So I think that is what
that makes sense.
That move was made for.
I figured the Sabres will do something like that as well.
A lot of teams will, and I think, some teams try to hold off to do it later on in the day, but they did it now.
What's that?
I said they did that move now. Some teams wait to avoid the media, stir, but Boston got it done early on.
Oh, goodness. Did you see, speaking of future considerations, did you see the Predators did a very funny tweet where they thanked future considerations for his work? Great
player.
Oh, DeMarco took an L, NRD. Martin Jones has not been moved yet.
Yeah, I don't think that came as it's a reason why I haven't said anything, because I was told, by friends in Philly that I trust a ton that they are in no rush to move him right now, especially with what they have in the AHL.
Yep, sounds like that was a jump the gun, but
sure, they'd like to move him, but they're in the same camp as Craig Anderson. I don't think they need to move him.
They don't need to, and that's kind of what it feels like in Buffalo. They certainly need to move some of their guys, and we got 40 minutes to do so. NRD.
40 minutes left. How are you feeling? I know it's a long show for you.
No, I feel great. I feel great. I'm coming off a wedding weekend, so I'm a little tired, but I buckle up here. I'm going to lose my shit if the Sabres don't do anything, but other than that, I'm rolling. I buckle up season. I took the ear guards out. We're rolling here.
Big fan of the blue helmet.
Yeah, look at that. Shouts to Toga. You can see the blue streak over here, I guess.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. There you go.
High school helmet.
So the old Bauer 9600 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, dude. These things. This is 12 years old. By the way, Cagliano to Colorado in exchange for a 5th-round pick in 2024. That's basically nothing.
Not much
For a 20. I mean, oh my gosh.
By the way, if
apologies for the garbage truck in my parking lot right now.
It's all good. In addition to the Colorado Avalanche being out now on Andrew Kopp, that leaves a hole in that market for the Winnipeg Jets. I think the Rangers are pushing hard here in the last couple of minutes on Andrew Kopp. I think that if that deal gets done, and it isn't a first, it's 2 second-round picks to Winnipeg. I don't think that's done yet, but I'd keep an eye on 2 seconds going to Winnipeg for Andrew Kopp from the New York Rangers.
Oh, that's big. That's big, NRD. Tuning in from Saratoga. Shouts. Go Blue Streaks. Yes, I went from the beach to the cold stove. That is correct. I was a couple Mai Tais deep, NRD, yesterday, and I decided to rent a jet ski.
Got to be fun, though, right?
I had a blast. I honestly looked into buying one and may or may not have gotten too far on a lease agreement that I'm now regretting.
Well, just because there's a lot of water in Austin, Texas to go jet skiing.
Yeah,
Right?
you know what? Sneaky Lake Austin and Lake Travis, closer than you'd think.
Shows how much I am up on my
R.I.P. River Rats. That's very true. R.I.P. Pepsi Arena. R.I.P. River Rats. It's not even like I'm 2 arenas out because it's not I don't think it's the Times Union Center anymore.
It was the old Albany Times Union Center, right?
No,
yeah.
That's so the Pepsi Arena was before the Times Union Center.
I've seen a few River Rats games in my day.
Yeah. Shouts to Cam McCall. He was a freshman or 8th grader when I was a senior. Good kid.
Scott Wedgwood came up with the River Rats, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. I think I saw like Kyle Palmieri there too. Back in the day. Okay.
The MVP arena now, people are saying.
Oh, God. MVP Healthcare Arena. As a Siena grad, you're saying a lot of things I'd like. Shouts to Wolf Road, Derek. Golly, the MVP Arena. Terrible. And then Glens Falls is, 20 minutes north of Saratoga. Has had a lot of teams too, whether it's the Adirondack Shoot the Thunder, the Ice Hawks, ECHL, AHL teams. The Phantoms, right? At some point. This is true. Well, it'll always. This got heavily upstate New York quickly, and I apologize for those people who are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" All right, let's get back to trades. NRD.
The Devil said, "Talk to Wedgwood this morning. He's got his thumbs moving for some EASHL." There you go. River Rats legend.
Let's see. Potentially a Tyler Mott trade offer has been maybe not accepted, but liked, if you will.
Patrick Langley is a diehard Colts fan / fan of the Cold Stove Pod. Only fitting I find out about the Matt Ryan trade through NRD. So there you go. We did something. We broke an NFL scoop as well today. How about that?
Okay. How about NRD? I'm getting you your retweets on your Cap news. Oh, man. Yeah, this is kind of what I'm getting the sense of too. If the offers are really that bad, I mean, you gotta pull trigger at some point on something. But then again, it's Colin Miller and he's been hurt. So even though he's a right shot defenseman that played really they should have traded him in November when he was playing as one of the weirdly one of the best defensemen in the league. I guess we'll see on that front. Whew. If they don't do anything, NRD, we will have a fun Tuesday episode of the Cold Stove Podcast.
It'll be very fun.
This is just false. Love Skinny Atlas. Love the Finger Lakes. Not better than Saratoga. Is Kopp good at draws? I don't know. I don't remember that being like a huge part of his game. I think he's more of a leadership, hard-nosed kind of guy. I like the player, but I'm not sure about his draw prowess. Somebody in the comments can inform me of that.
We'll give Anthony DeMarco another chance to redeem himself. Just tweeted out, Broussard is starting to generate moderate interest as forwards come off the board.
There you go.
But Derek Broussard, he's in the NHL.
What's that about Derek Broussard?
He's in the NHL. He's a player. He does play hockey. So
that Cody Eakin does the same. He plays hockey. Yes, Derek. The answer is Owen Power will be a Buffalo Sabre as soon as the Michigan loses to Northeastern in the championship game. Actually, let's go. Let's do that quick while we're waiting on trades here. NCAA men's hockey tournament. I can't remember. Do they reseed after? No, they don't. Okay. Western Michigan plays Northeastern on Thursday or Friday? Thursday or Friday. And then Minnesota plays Massachusetts, UMass. And that side of the bracket, NRD. Who do you have winning here? You want to do our brackets, our Frozen Four brackets real quick?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. By the way, Zach Sanford to Winnipeg per Dregs.
Okay. I like that trade. I like Sanford, former St. Louis Blue.
Men's official hockey bracket.
Yeah, Nelton Berg said as much. They love the Jets buying and selling, and they're going to get a 5th-round pick, or they're going to give up a 5th-round pick for Sanford. That's not an end-of-the-world return, or payment, I guess.
No, not ridiculous. They're doing a good job, like you said, of buying and selling, and like Alberge just said, I really like them acquiring Mason Appleton. I'm gonna break down the fourth wall here. I don't really do this too often.
Okay.
I did have a chat with Weeksy last night.
Ooh.
And I did have a little exchange with him off to the side about, the fit of Appleton and the Winnipeg Jets, and we both agreed that he's the type of guy that you bring him back there. So good for them. Seems like Seattle just wants to give everybody back to where they came, sending everybody back. They did it with Vanacek. Marcus Johansson's back with the Capitals. Mason Appleton is a, Winnipeg Jet again. So that's Ronnie Francis's game plan. Seems to be it.
I like what Ronnie Francis is doing too. Let's do your bracket, NRD.
All right, let's go with the bracket. Hearing Evgeny Dadonov to the Ducks, so we'll just see where that goes over the next couple minutes.
Michigan American International.
Give me Michigan.
Yep. Quinnipiac and St. Cloud State.
Give me St. Cloud State.
I tend to agree with that one. Moving down the bracket, Denver, UMass Lowell.
Let's go with the upset.
Ooh, Hockey East upset over Denver. And then Minnesota Duluth and Michigan Tech.
Minnesota Duluth's a powerhouse.
They've long have they been kind of number one, mixing it up with Michigan for a lot of the season, right?
For most of the year, yeah.
Then we have, let's see. Let's just get down to it. Michigan, St. Cloud State.
Give me Michigan.
I would agree. And UMass Lowell, Minnesota Duluth.
Minnesota Duluth.
Okay, Minnesota Duluth, Michigan, Minnesota Duluth.
Michigan. I think they're a good team. There's
you have
two
Michigan
deep.
in the NCAA championship game. Other side of the bracket, Western Michigan and Northeastern.
I feel like this is the end of the podcast if I don't pick the Huskies. Let's go with the Northeastern Huskies.
Let's go, NRD. Minnesota and UMass.
UMass.
And then we have a Northeastern UMass rematch. Or I guess not rematch, but Hockey East.
Give me UMass.
Okay, then we have Minnesota State, Harvard.
Let's go with the Minnesota State.
I would agree with that one. And North Dakota, Notre Dame.
They're not the Fighting Sioux anymore, correct?
I think they gave up that name, yes.
Okay, let's go with North Dakota, though.
All right, North Dakota, Minnesota State.
Minnesota State.
Boom. Okay, so you have Minnesota State. And then did you say Northeastern or UMass? UMass?
I know you wanted me to say Northeastern, but I didn't.
Minnesota State, UMass.
Let's go UMass back to the national championship
game. Then you have Michigan versus UMass for all the marbles, and NRD predicts
Greg Carvel's University of Massachusetts team does not repeat. I think Michigan gets it done.
Yeah, me too. And then that's a long way of saying that is when Owen Power will be a Buffalo Sabre.
There it is.
Agreed. I like Matt Coronado a lot. Harvard's going to be fun. Let's see here. All right. Did we miss anything?
Not that I know of.
Detroit retains salary on Letty. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. NRD, it may be the end of the podcast if the Sabres don't do anything. Devin
It's
Levi.
tough
Shouts to
sledding
Devin.
for me. I can't run this thing by myself, man.
I mean, holy cow.
I did it once. It was tough.
We have half an hour left, 30 minutes until the trade deadline is over. Sabres have a lot of moves to make in 30 minutes. I apologize for sort of Sabresing this live stream, but could get ugly.
This is a fun report from Taylor Haas of DK Sports in Pittsburgh. She mentions that Hextall, Burke, and other members of the front office are still in their office right now, getting up, walking around, looking at the whiteboard, sitting back down, chatting. So
absolutely, fucking Lou, man. They're all just like, oh, it's literally what happens in every situation that old dudes get in. They have exactly what they want to do, and then they panic once that's not an option. You need to game plan like every fucking scenario here. Sorry for the French, but my gosh. Yeah, you're right. We're lucky we have Josh Allen because my goodness.
Doesn't look good for you guys in the AFC anymore, though.
I'm getting tornado warnings. And
the AFC looks good. I would just be careful,
I,
Buffalo fan there.
I know. Somebody said, how is Phil Kessel still an Arizona Coyote? I don't know. Probably because his return is going to be nothing. Anything new over in Vancouver, NRD?
Not that I know of right now.
Quiet. Very quiet. Weirdly quiet. Yeah, Buffalo. I'll tell you what, Buffalo and Vancouver right now call them the losers of the trade deadline. And it hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah, I'd throw the New York Rangers in that mix as well if they don't get anything done here. I still think they're kicking in on Andrew Kopp, but if they don't get anything done, they're a loser to me as well.
How about some NFL rumors daily? The Saints are re-signing Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal.
There you go. So Brett's got a scoop of his own.
No, that was just a tweet.
Damn. I might have been one of the early ones on that Matt Ryan stuff, though. I'm just gonna say that. It was a while before Schefter tweeted it out.
I would agree with this. New Jersey also losers.
Oh, somebody in the chat's not gonna like that one.
Oh man, I would love to see Scheifele in Carolina next year to replace Trocheck. So would I. I don't hate that. I don't think can they afford that though?
I'm not sure if they could afford it, but
they can make something happen. Right?
I like the fit. But then again, I think Seth Jarvis, let him play an expanded role there.
Oh yeah. What's Scheifele? 6.1. 6.1. That's not bad. You're right, Jimmy Mack. There is some. There's some pain behind these eyes right now. Coming off a weekend in beautiful Naples, Florida. Oh, okay. NRD, I swear to God, if we don't do anything, and it's because of like some weird shit where Terry Padula can't get over, like Colin Miller not going for 3 first-round picks, and it's like Terry Padula and Kim Padula are fucking vetoing trades. If that's the case, then sell the team tomorrow, even though they should do that anyway. And I just got that. Why I'm freaking out is I got a DM that says weird vibes in the room. So that could mean if the Padulas are anywhere fucking near this room. NRD.
You want to keep going? I'm enjoying this.
If the Padulas are holding up trades because they're vetoing trades. I'm NRD, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. Oh my God.
Working the phones right now. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I know that this makes a lot of sense, but I don't know. The vetoing trades, if that's the case, I'm going to be fucking insane. But they're definitely refusing to retain salary. They don't want to pay Colin Miller.
I think Anthony Potato is to the Sharks. I think you might be on something.
You need more Mai Tais, Brett. I think you would agree. I'll tell you what. I have a bottle of whiskey sitting right next to me, and if the Sabres don't do anything, I'll have a sip. Heavy pour. Right now, I'm on the clock. NRD still.
Yeah, Weeksy says Anthony Potato from the Rangers to the Sharks. I don't think Potato's been up at the big club for a while. I think he's been in Hartford for some time now. But
yeah, F you, Petrov. He said the boots on the ground tell me the Bagulas have vetoed a McDavid trade.
probably wanted pinky surgery or something like that. It wouldn't improve it.
God. Well, I mean, like the Pagulas, like you look back and they wanted McDavid from the start. I mean, Jack Eichel was always number 2. I yeah, I know what gets said here. I know there's politics here.
Brett wants to go in so bad, and the only thing I could say is, if we're not archiving this, go for it. Otherwise, save it for the show.
No, I'm going to wait till tomorrow to have a meltdown. But at this rate, there's a meltdown incoming.
By the way, I think this is a little insight into the planning committee. We'll see about the 2 weeks. I think we really enjoyed doing the 2 weeks. Maybe if you guys prefer that a little bit more with shorter episodes twice a week, Brett and I will work on that going forward of whether we go back to 1 or we stick with the 2 weeks of shorter episodes from here on out. So it's up to you guys how much you guys want to show love to the show. We'll play ball with that.
By the way, that's
what are you doing, Alex? What are you doing to the guy?
If you're being serious about this, Alex, if they won the lottery that year, they lost it after tanking. Oh man, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with this. Sorry, NRD.
There goes Brett. Yeah, the Rangers just cleared a contract spot. I wouldn't say a roster spot, Ryan, but a contract spot. You get limited to 50 contracts. He wasn't up with the big club, so fake Frank just broke a lot of Twitter with a fake Raquel to Vegas report. Yeah, there's still reports about Evgeny Dadonov going to Anaheim. I'm sorry. I still been in the works forever. A lot of check marks on that one, so who knows? Return for Potato is Nick Merkley, I believe, is the Merkley that's in San Jose. So he is the one that is going to the Rangers farm system. A little AHL trade. So Chris Drury making the big moves today.
We gotta try something, NRD. See if this changes anything around. We have a Shannon Brewing Company, Texas Brewery Cool Hop IPA on a Monday afternoon. I was fishing one time, NRD, on the Racket River in, more than upstate New York in the Adirondacks. And we weren't catching anything. Weren't catching a thing. All morning from like 6:30 in the morning to probably 9:30. Couldn't buy a bite. And that's when we decided to open up a couple of Bat Blues and Labatt Blue Lights. And we took home a, like a 20-pound pike or something like that. Well, excuse me, a 20-pound walleye. It was a fucking monster. So you know what? I subscribed to this, and then we were catching stuff all the rest of the morning. But we're going to see how this works. This is a vibe changer.
Well, you might have just conjured something by the crack of that can, pal, because Petey just said might be one coming in before the 3 p.m. deadline. Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, Cody Eakin for a 9th. They don't even have 9 rounds.
They used to. They used to have 12 rounds. Brett just lost it.
Hey, you know what? When all else fails, we do this commercial free. NRD. We're not getting paid for this. I mean, we get paid on tomorrow's episode. Shouts to Ritual Vitamins and Manscaped. But not today. Say we're just here. We're here for the people. We do this all on the fly.
It's all about us.
All on the fly.
It's all about you guys.
Ooh, buddy. 19 minutes officially till the trade deadline. There's going to be more that come in after the whistle. Shouts to Petey, if you will. Oh, man. Sorry, NRD. I'm at a loss.
It's a good question. Honest opinion of Tom Fitzgerald, Chase Stillman pick, and the Shakir Mukhamadullin pick, if I pronounced that right. I like that. I like that pick. It's a really good pick. I think both of them could provide a ton to the lineup. I'm a fan of Tommy Fitz, right? Like Fitzgerald has done great stuff in that front office. No, things didn't break the way that they had hoped, and I think that the Devils have unfortunately fell into comparison with their Hudson River rivals, the New York Rangers. The Rangers lucked into a couple of big draft picks. Brett's looking out the window like the movie Twister. I think it's coming. I think this is the one.
Can you hear this? I mean,
it's crazy outside right now. But I think Tommy Fitz is doing the best he can without some premium picks falling into his lap. Obviously, Luke Hughes, we hope he pans out. I think he's going to be great there. Jesper Bratt, whatever the hell you want to call him, looks great. I think that there is a lot to be done there still in New Jersey, namely getting a guy in that could push Mackenzie Blackwood. I've never been convinced he's the guy. I think, we're starting a new era here with the New Jersey Devils as PK Subban leaves this offseason. Damon Severson's going to step up into a bigger role. I like what they have going there. I think there's some pieces, though, that they have to finish the deal, namely the coach as well. I don't see a world where Lindy Ruff is beyond the bench next season for the New Jersey Devils.
Derek says, what's the Sabres move that could and should happen? Colin Miller for a second. That's one of them. Cody Eakin for a bag of pucks. Mark Pysyk for a third and gets re-signed in the offseason. A buy on a guy like Jeff Petrie. Whew. 17 minutes NRD.
Somebody sleep all 32 GMs in Ambien. Yeah, probably.
I mean, I guess this is like the calm before the storm, where we're going to hear deals at the deadline because there's a lot of phone calls happening right now, et cetera. San Jose trades Potato to the Rangers.
Vice versa. Potato to San Jose.
That's what I meant.
Giroux to the media when asked if Florida was the only team he'd go to. Think those details are going to stay private with Chuck and myself. Florida was at the top of my list. If there was a team that I wanted to go to, it was here. So I listen. I really don't. And to wrap that up and put that saga to bed, I really don't think that they were exclusive to Florida. I think they did have conversations with a couple other teams. I just think that Florida was clearly the preferred destination, and that they were going to do the right thing by him.
$15 NRD. 15 minutes.
There's Weeksy in the ESPN cafeteria.
Yeah, Weetsy's doing chicken parm bits. Love it, Weetsy.
Shouts to Jordy Barstool. Free Phil, PHREE, PHIL. Wants to get Kessel out of Arizona.
To where? Not Philly.
Andrew Hammond to the New Jersey Devils. So there you go, everybody.
Wow. Okay, the Devils have done something.
Nate Schnarr, prospect, going the other way.
Andrew Hammond to the Devils for Nate Schnarr.
I think the Devils were, we could talk about it now because it's after the fact. I think the Devils were heavily in the mix at one point when Ville Husso was apparently available. I think that they were really looking after him, and then he played too well to be traded. But I think the Devils were extremely interested in him in that.
Amanda Kessel saying, doesn't look like number 81 is being moved. # missing out. That's an interesting source right there.
You would think that Amanda Kessel would have a clue on what's going on with Phil Kessel.
You would think.
A little sibling telepathy going on there.
You know what, though? This is fun. At least, like anything on the Leafs, absolutely nothing, which is hilarious. They messed up their goalie situation. They did get Mark Giordano. That's going to be big, but my gosh. I haven't heard any more follow-up on where the Pagulas are, so I won't go in on them vetoing trades until I know that for sure. But if they are, holy shit.
I had heard the Pagulas shot down to McDavid for Cody Eakin deal. Confirming Petrov's report.
Confirming your report. Andrew Kopp is heading to the New York Rangers.
Is he? So
Yeah.
There you go. There's the NRD bomb on the day. You guys asked for one. You guys asked for one. I believe that's 2 seconds and a sweetener.
NRD.
So you guys wanted a NRD bomb. I told you that sometimes you leave breadcrumbs, sometimes they're bombs. They're working on Tyler Mott as well, per Dregs.
Give you another retweet on that. Oh, NRD. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, man? This team is just you have to move people. You have to move people. What are you like? What are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? You want any asset at all at this point? What do you say if you're Kevin Adams on tomorrow? When you get your Robert Haig is the only thing you did to improve your hockey team.
Yeah, I think sorry, I'm talking to some sources with the New York Rangers front office right now on this Andrew Kopp stuff. Now that the deal is looking like it's done, they can finally open their lips a little bit. I think that the suspicion that I had earlier is what went on. I think that, we'll see what the trade package is. I had heard couple seconds and a sweetener. Maybe that got bumped up to a first and just the first. But earlier on, Winnipeg wanted the first-round pick for Kopp. I think that the New York Rangers were content on sitting on that first-round pick to see if anything bigger materialized throughout the day. And sure enough, I mean, hopefully this is archived so we can play back my voice saying this. I think I called it 250. I think Drury was finally going to let go and make that move. I think he waited to see if something bigger would materialize. It didn't. he circles the wagons back to Andrew Kopp, and Andrew Kopp is now a New York Ranger. So,
listen, I like the trade, honestly. And sorry if I just introduced more interference on the mic. I got down to 3%, and I figured I don't want to leave NRD in the cold for very long, so we'll have to charge a little bit here. Oh, NRD, I am. Oh, man. We have Russian cyber attacks incoming, so that's good. That's another breaking news. Just maybe just cyber attack me. Golly, man. We're gonna, it's gonna be fucking Cody Eakin for a 7th or a 6th, like at 304. Canucks are going to do something with Tyler Mott, and
Mott's most likely headed to the Rangers here.
Okay.
We'll see. I trust Dregs, though.
I know. Sorry for the buzzing, guys. It's if we got, let's see. I'll see how NRD. I'll see how long we go. I'm going down with the ship. Yeah, it sounds like Mott is also a New York Ranger. I wonder who's going back in that, if they're two separate trades or if it's one big trade. Do you have anything on that?
Wouldn't be a 3-team trade, because obviously Mott's with the Canucks, Kopp with the Jets. The last I checked, the last I was told was that 2 seconds and a sweetener was what was in play for Andrew Kopp. I tweeted that out about a half an hour ago. I don't know if that changed at this moment, but I believe that's the package. As for Tyler Mott, not sure what that package would look like. Just very clued into the Winnipeg Jets and New York Rangers right now, and it appears to be that's what it is. We'll see, though.
Okay. We have officially less than 10 minutes here. Would imagine there are a lot of people on the phones. I would imagine that trades are going to hit fast. There's going to be some stuff that happens after the deadline. We'll be on. As long as my computer's on, we'll be on. Ooh.
I hope the Sabres do something for your sake, for your sanity.
Yeah, so they're going to do something, and it's going to be very, very underwhelming. I'm going to throw up a Hail Mary.
Jacob Biancardi, what's trader dealer Don up to now that Kopp's gone to the Rangers? I think that there's a possibility he turns down to Rickard Rakell.
Sorry, repeat that. I was texting.
Jacob Biancardi asked, what is dealer Don up to now that Kopp's gone to the Rangers? I think he turns to Rickard Rakell. I don't think, to my knowledge, the Vancouver Canucks and Boston Bruins would get that Garland deal under the wire here. I think he turns to Rakell if Rakell is still in play.
Okay. Oh, man. I might go NRD after this. I might go tornado hunting. I'm just going to go storm chasing.
You got a live stream of that?
Yeah, I might as well. Yeah, I think Domi cooled down based on other moves that have been made.
Yeah, I think our first episode ever of the Cold Stuff Pod, we talked about things being hot and cold when it comes to trade talks. I think things heat up. Things move at a fast pace this time of year. Fluidity.
The only thing I know is that I'm not going to say the Pagulas are blocking trades. I never got that text. I made that inference myself. So do not run with the Pagulas are blocking trades. But based on their level of involvement, that's why I'm mad. But they're not blocking trades outright verbatim as far as I know. So let me put that out there. But I will certainly look into that. To tell NRD is working his phones because he keeps going. I can see him muting himself. So NRD is in the cave right now. We got 6 minutes. So far, there's been a lot of involvement. Some teams are doing a lot, like some teams are doing a lot with what they have, like in Colorado, for example, doing well. New York doing well. A couple teams have been very quiet, like a Toronto. It's outside of Giordano, and Montreal's been busy. So a lot of teams doing things, and not Buffalo. Okay, 5 minutes. Here we go. By the way, that Tyler Mott to the New York Rangers return is a 2023 fourth-round pick.
Yeah, so not a lot for a guy that we knew was going to be on the move. Michael Russo says the Minnesota Wild do have one more move in the hopper here.
Wonder what that could be. Cody Eakin to the Wild. No, just kidding. Well, maybe. Fuck it. They need a face-off guy. This IPA NRD is like a 6.2 out of 10. Very average. Wouldn't have more than one.
There you go. Little review action. It's not a rookie score. I'll allow it.
Okay. How about some of that? Kotkaniemi is going to sign an 8-year extension with Carolina.
So then we talk about how does the Scheifele fit in Carolina?
Less so.
Less so now than 10 minutes ago.
Four minutes, NRD. Chris Drury had a busy last half hour. Kevin Adams, he's got chicken wing sauce on his hands.
From the Anchor Bar? Is the Anchor Bar overrated? You tell me.
No, I mean I think it's. Listen, like they invented it. Like I'm not going to say it's overrated. It's just good. Like I know people talk about it like it's, the buffalo sauce mecca. I mean, it's good. I like Bar Bill myself. Now, Anchor Bar doesn't stink. Let's stop with that. It doesn't stink.
Listen, a good wing sauce is the way to go. Little Frank's Red Hot, a little ranch seasoning packet, little butter in there, goes a long way.
Yeah, that's I like honestly I like to make my own buffalo sauce. Yeah.
John Shannon. New York Rangers get some depth. Cop from Winnipeg, Mott from Vancouver. Both need new contracts. Well, don't know if they're going to get them from the New York Rangers because they are pressed for cap. We'll see what they do. But you know what? To be quite honest with you, we said this on the air, for those that have listened to the show. We said it last week. We said it multiple times in the past couple of weeks. The plan, as much as you can't get information out of a Chris Drury front office, what I had started to hear as we got close to the deadline was he was content with rebuilding that third and fourth line, the depth on the team. Once they knew that Drury wasn't coming to New York, God bless you.
Sorry.
God bless you. Once we knew that, Claude Giroux wasn't coming to the New York Rangers, I think Chris Drury was content on rebuilding that third line. I think that's the team's best shot at the playoffs, really. Or best shot, not that the playoffs they're locked, but best shot at a Stanley Cup run and to compete with teams like Carolina and Florida is just to be deep, right? So you had Kopp there, you had Tyler Mott, you had Justin Braun on the back end, who probably shouldn't be playing over some of their young guys, but he's a great seventh defenseman. So, they get stronger.
Less than a minute, NRD. Less than a minute. And then the trade deadline is here. The word is a lot of lowball offers in Buffalo. And I guess we're not gonna just not even gonna take lottery picks and make some room for our young guys to get some games in. So yeah, there it is. Trade deadline is here. We will see some trades trickle in, obviously, in the next couple minutes here.
Eric Steffens, who covers the Ducks so greatly for The Athletic, just said likely will be announced afterwards after the 3 p.m. Eastern deadline. Would be an utter shock if Rickard Rakell trade is not completed. He'll be on the move. I am still working those phones to see if that is the Boston Bruins.
On the other side of that, Jacob Chychrun is going to stay a Coyote for the time being. I think
Kyle Dubas is meeting with the media, so the Toronto Maple Leafs are done as well.
And AAV on Jesperi Kotkaniemi from Sarah Civ is less than $5 million, which for 8 years would be a great deal for them. And let's see what trickles in here. We are trickling and trickling and trickling. Sounds like Raquel is very much happening. Emily Tablin tweeting that the Penguins are also in on him.
Weeks on ESPN is saying that
guys, I'm trying to be here for everybody. I'm trying to be a team player. I'm trying to be a team player, NRD.
Weeks says at least 10 more moves coming in that he knows of.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Phil Kessel staying with the Coyotes for the remainder of the season. Not that probably wasn't alluded to and broken by his sister Amanda Kessel, but Craig Morgan with the confirmation. Kessel staying in Arizona.
Okay, well, that is just the ultimate. All right, I'm going to go golf. You don't want me to go to a playoff team? Fine, I'm going to go golf. He's going to golf every day.
PK Subban stays put per Pierre. What else we got? Just house cleaning. Canucks are done officially. Yeah, I think the things with Connor Garland, I think that started hot this morning. I think that a lot of people are going to ask what the hell was the DeBrusk extension about then. Listen, you couldn't trade him as an RFA with a $4.1 million qualifying offer. So, and he's played well enough to earn a second contract somewhere, whether that was with another team or at least in Boston for now. I really think it's a case of, hey, just keep your mouth shut. I understand you want to get out of here. We'll try to do the best we can in the offseason, but right now we kind of need you to keep playing the way you are in this lineup. So
let's see. Irf saying that the Canucks do not have any more moves coming, just the Tyler Mott deal today.
Derek Brassard to the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, okay. Interesting. What did they get back in that? Like a sixth, fifth?
Probably like a fifth or a sixth, yeah.
Might have to. NRD was hot there for a while.
Well, honestly, if the weather keeps picking up like it is, you might need to leave that helmet on all night, pal.
I really might, actually. It sounds like it's going to get nasty here in a little bit. The wind is picking up. No storms yet, but man. It's interesting that Edmonton is going to ride with the goaltending they have, huh? We've talked about literally that they need a goalie forever.
I think they're similar to the Leafs in that.
They just
Were you
said
just
we're
going to bring in another question mark, like another guy needs to prove himself? I think you wanted to bring in a Fleury or a Varlamov, a proven guy, and if those two guys weren't willing to waive their no trade clauses to go there,
Mm-hmm.
then you might as well just roll with the guys that have the support of the locker room right now.
Yeah, I just don't think they're like. It just doesn't feel like they have the support. I mean, if you're Connor McDavid, you're sitting here going like, "What the fuck? We're gonna do this again? Like we're really gonna do this again?" Love Mike Smith, but he's hurt. Like, what are we gonna like? What are we doing? What are we doing? We got Derek Brassard. Okay. Yeah, I get that a lot. Kenton, cheers, brother. Again, shouts to Shannon Brewing Company. Texas Brewed Cool Hop IPA.
6.2, you said.
6.2. Wouldn't have another one, but I'm not necessarily a huge IPA guy to begin with. So
Per Frank, Rickard Rakell is going to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Boston was not able to get that done.
okay, let's see that's a legit one. Penguins, Raquel. I think that is a really good trade for them. Just put my analyst hat on. That's some, if you will, some jam in that lineup for the playoffs. I like that a lot. You can put them up and down the lineup. You can play on your first line with a Crosby. You can play on your fourth line if you need them to. I like that trade a lot.
We'll see what that means for, we talked about Boston potentially being a team for Raquel. We knew they were in on him throughout the day. We talked about Evgeny Dadonov potentially going to Anaheim and the Vegas Golden Knights being a team that looked at Raquel. We'll see what that means for both the Bruins and the Golden Knights, because we've been sitting on a potential Evgeny Dadonov trade for like 2 hours now, and that's come from some verified guys out in Las Vegas, and we still haven't heard anything yet. So we'll see what that means for that.
We have a report from Jeremy Rutherford that the Blues did not make any more trades ahead of the 2 p.m. deadline. So the Blues pretty much riding with what they got. Rickard Rakell is heading to the Penguins for a prospect and a second-round pick. Just another day in Sabres land, NRD. Another day in Sabres land.
Aaron Portsline, great stuff. Hearing that Max Domi could be on the move.
I mean,
so there you go.
Well, where's he going?
Your guess is as good as mine, right?
My guess is still. I
know my limitations, man. I had the cop stuff, but I don't know where Max Domi's going right now.
Boston.
I'd like it to be Boston, because if it's Boston, that's something that we've talked about on the podcast for quite some time now.
Max Domi's on the move. As soon as we report, Jeff Petrie, by the way, is staying a Montreal Canadian. He was a Sabres target for me. Probably maybe some in-division stuff. Mixes that up a little bit.
Good question in the chat from Wildcard Placement. Wonder why Drury didn't throw Kravtsov in the second for Raquel. Could have easily got it done. Not that we're going to get into this right now on this show, but there's a lot of concern about guys that are in the KHL right now and getting them over here, and what that kind of looks like as we navigate this socio-political and economical climate in this world. It's a big word, right? I don't even think it's a word, but I think there's concerns there of just, hey, he's over in the KHL. Can we get him over? Will we be able to get him a visa to come back and play in the United States? I think those are the questions that surrounded a guy like a Vitaly Kravtsov.
No doubt.
Allegedly, Emily Kaplan is saying Domi and Carolina. Or Carolina done? Reading the chat right now. That's from Jimmy Mack.
Not sure if they got the deal done, according to Pierre. So it sounds like Carolina could be.
So if it is, it's probably Carolina.
Probably Carolina, yeah.
Carpenter to Calgary. So Ryan Carpenter got double flipped.
I didn't even know that was allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, so shouts to double flip and Carpenter. So Toronto waived Marazzic because they wanted to sign the Finnish goaltender, who was then claimed by Arizona, which is hilarious.
Charles, you're asking for cop details. I'm actually just replying to somebody on Twitter right now. Last I had it was 2 second-round picks and a sweetener. So we'll see.
So we are now 10 minutes past the trade deadline. Yeah, sounds like, Sean, it sounds like Max Domi is going to be a Carolina Hurricane. 4th round pick is the return for Broussard, by the way, going to Edmonton. We said 5th, 6th, 4th is good value.
Who could be the sweetener, Ryan? I don't think it's like a roster player like a Julian Gauthier. I think you're looking at maybe like a 6th, a conditional pick, like something like that. I just think something of value potential there for Winnipeg to just get that deal done. Maybe not. Maybe it's 2 seconds. I just know from what I heard from multiple people in the past hour or so, 2 seconds were the basis of which that trade was built upon.
Oh, man. Reimer stayed put. Stastny staying put in Winnipeg, which I'm frankly pretty surprised by, especially if they're going to move Kopp. Not sure how you don't also move a Paul Stastny. Sabres. I'll pull back the curtain here. My latest text to the Sabres verse is just whelp. So that's where I'm. There's no me behind the scenes saying like, where are we at? Where are we at? What's the word? It's just whelp. So whelp is right. So for all the shows out there that wanted to do a big breakdown of the Sabres deadline, Robert Hagg for a 6th round pick is the extent of that.
It's a big deal.
Oh, okay. You want to go 3 more minutes, NRD, and we'll see if anything hits, and then
we'll go a couple more minutes. I'll be here on Twitter if I think Brett will be as well, as long as he can weather out the storm there. So
yeah, I'd like literally. I literally have to go on and look at what the radar is saying right now. I'm also I gotta make some lunch too, NRD.
There you go. So we'll just get final thoughts here. We'll wrap this up in a couple minutes. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We obviously cannot, would not, and did not do this without you guys in the comments and on Twitter, and those that listen to the Cold Stove Pod week in, week out. We appreciate you guys and gals so much, and definitely we're going to keep this up. We're going to build upon this. That being said, thoughts on the day, Brett? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah,
the Buffalo Sabres being involved in those thoughts.
No,
how you feel about that.
I'd hate to turn this into an all Buffalo pod. I know I'm guilty of that, and I apologize to you, and I apologize to the fans out there and the Cold Stovers. But I think the deadline, a lot of the if everything that happened in the last week and a half happened today, we'd be like, holy shit, Giroux and Sherratt and stuff like that. But hey, it's pretty standard. It's a pretty standard day. I'm surprised by the lack of teams. I'm surprised that the lack of teams that are buying. I love what Colorado did. I like what Anaheim and kind of ended up doing. I know Montreal has a lot to do. I'm surprised Petrie didn't go. Lehkonen and Raquel are probably my 2 favorite trades. And confirming. Yeah, everybody in the chat, no trades for the Sabres today, NRD.
The tough one, also confirmed in the chat, Domi to Carolina, but we knew that. No Sabres trades is tough. I thought Colin Miller would have been a surefire thing to be moved, especially when guys like Justin Braun are fetching a 3rd round pick.
Can't believe I'm saying that. The Sabres did not make a trade today. The Sabres did not make a trade today.
Not what Brett had hoped for when he woke up this morning.
Went to bed last night thinking today was going to be Christmas morning. Not that, and like, listen, I didn't expect Colin Miller to get a first and a prospect, right? I did, frankly, I was like a fourth or a third. And then once some things started throwing around, it's going to be maybe a second. How about that? But I don't think Kevin Adams is all that interested in fifth round picks. And I'm going to look into something more there to see if there was some funny business involved.
I don't doubt that you'll have great insight to what went on there today. Tomorrow on the Cold Stove Pod.
Anderson, Eakin, Pysyk, Miller, all Buffalo Sabres. Which, to be honest with you, I don't mind Anderson and Pysyk still being Buffalo Sabres. I mind Cody Eakin and Colin Miller being Buffalo Sabres because that removes a spot to bring up Oskari Laaksonen. That removes a spot for Ryan Johnson maybe to get some play. If he wants to come out, I don't know if he will. He's probably an AHL guy still. But, man, NRD. Owen Power's going to take a spot on the blue line. And
they're going to be all right. I'm not just saying that. I know this is like live on air therapy session for the Sabres fans. I think they're going to be all right.
It's just,
the offseason's that you can make the argument. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'll spin zone this for you. I think you can make the argument that the offseason is the time to buy.
No, believe me, I get that. I agree. I'm just saying the guys that have no business, like Anderson to me, Pysyk to me, Anders Bjork, Vinny Hinostroza, those are guys like, if they stay, they're sort of building something there. And I get that. It's the Cody Eakin and Colin Miller where go give me a lottery ticket. Give me a scratch off for those guys. And that's a 5th round, 6th round pick. Because not only does it give you a scratch off ticket that you're probably not going to hit on a guy, but maybe you hit on a Braden Point, like that kind of deal. The guys that are not going to be anywhere near that locker room next year. And I could see Pysyk being back. I could see Anderson being back. I could see Hinostroza being back, honestly. He's had a great couple days here. But it's the guys that are going to be nowhere near that locker room that you need to get a scratch-off ticket for. And so I'm not saying that I really did that there were going to be a buyer at some point. And the closer we got to the deadline, it kind of felt like it's going to be an off-season deal. So that's fine. But like today doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence in that right now. They still have everybody on their team besides Robert Haig that was there before. So I don't know. I wonder what Kevin Adams is going to say. He's going to say we tried to, build our team in the biggest way we could, or however he's going to fucking politic that answer and just say some guys are still here. We didn't get the offer we wanted for them. I'm not going to trade just to trade and yada yada. It's just, it is what it is. NRD.
No, I agree with you completely. Sorry, I'm chasing down this. Alberja did say that senses that the Dadonov stuff did not get over the finish line. I am sure it was tied into the Raquel talk. So there you go. So kind of putting puzzle pieces together. The reason why that did not go through is because of that directly being tied to Rickard Raquel. So
there you go. Well, NRD, I think we call it.
Yeah, I think this was a fun one. I appreciate it. Like I said, everybody being in the comments and all that. It means a ton to me. You guys are awesome on Twitter and all that. I can't speak for Brett, but I know he appreciates it too. It's looking good there in the helmet. Shout out to the Blue Streaks, the Toga Blue Streaks. We hope you stay safe down there in Texas. Hope you stay safe, bud. We'll rip one tomorrow, right? If I'm not mistaken. Should be on the lookout for just a quick little Cold Stove post deadline primer either tomorrow or Wednesday.
There you
go. We'll take it from there, right? All right. Any last thoughts?
No. That's kind of what the deal is, and I'm disappointed. Like I'm disappointed, and here we go. So we'll just see where this goes from here, and Go Sabres. Thank you guys for joining. And love everybody here. Really sorry about if I brought the mood down to the commenters or NRD, but we'll get them back. We'll be back. We'll be right there tomorrow on Cold Stove Podcast.
Listen, don't let Terry and Kim Pagula ruin your day, pal. We had a great show, great vibes in here. Stuff was immaculate, and special shout out to the New Jersey Devil in the comments.
Yeah,
we had a mascot, right? So that's awesome.
There you go. And here, shout out to the goal light in my bedroom.
There you go.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. That's Cold Stove Trade Melt. I am Brett Merriman at Schmerriman on Twitter. That's NRD at NHL Rumors Daily on Twitter. We are the Cold Stove Podcast at Cold Stove Pod on Twitter. We will love you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.